All right. Call to order the August 5th, 2015 meeting of the Township of Lopatcong Town Council. I guess our first order of business is prayer and a moment of silence. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Do the adequate notice first.
Oh, I could, yeah. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided indicating the time and place of the meeting in accordance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975 by advertising a notice in the Star Gazette and the Express Times and by posting on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Roll call, please.
Councilman Belcaro.
Here.
Councilwoman McCabe. Here. Councilwoman Schneider.
Here.
Council President Chesler.
Here.
Mayor McKay.
Present. All right, we have to make a motion to come out of executive session.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You want to give the synopsis?
Sure. We were in executive session for almost an hour. The topics of discussion were contractual regarding Chapman Sewer, contractual versus service electric franchise, public safety and protection EMS update, litigation, impound versus the Township of Lopatcong, attorney-client privilege of complaint by resident regarding encroachment on right-of-way, contractual regarding Aqua, New Jersey, property damage release, and attorney-client privilege regarding the sign ordinance. The minutes from executive session will be available at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. There are items that are listed on your agenda for executive session that were not discussed, and that's why I did not say them.
We didn't have enough time. We'll go back to them later. All right, I'd like to open for public comment. Take a motion to open for public comment.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Public comment, agenda items only. Does anyone wish to come up and make a public comment concerning agenda items? Ma'am?
Mylandic, 10 Byron Drive, and I'm not sure if this is considered agenda item. It's a comment on executive session. Number 10, attorney-client privilege sign ordinance. I'm wondering how, I'm not sure what that involves, but I do know that I had sent a letter to Mayor McKay, Katrina, and the zoning board attorney asking for information to be provided to the public regarding the questions that have ensued regarding our current sign ordinance. In that letter, I specifically asked the following questions. I want to know who decides if an ordinance needs to be reviewed, who decides if, as it was alleged in by Mr. Belcaro and Mr. Pryor, that sections 243, 52B, and 53B are invalid as written and applied as asserted by their attorney. Who rewrites the ordinance if it's deemed necessary? Does council take charge of that, or is it the zoning board? Who would vote on the revised ordinance, and how is council planning to address this matter? So I see it's listed. I'm guessing it's something different that's in executive session, because clearly these things would be things that should be discussed in public, correct?
Look on your agenda. It is on agenda item
5.
5 under new business.
Okay, so will those questions be addressed? You don't know.
I
Okay,
hope so.
okay, thank you.
I don't know. Yeah, the executive session.
Eric.
Eric Johnson, Stonehenge Drive. Are we going to be talking about the Belvedere Road intersection by the new proposed high school in public comment or not? I didn't see it on the agenda. I have a comment that I can wait to the end on that, but I want to know if it's going to be discussed.
It's not on the agenda to be discussed in an open session.
So it's not on the agenda.
Right, no,
Then I can do a comment at the end for that.
yes, ma'am.
On old business number 2, the second reading of the rent control board, I just want everybody to think about what you're doing and what decisions you're making. As a landlord, if I would say that, I want to raise rent because I want to improve all my rental units and make them nicer, and then you give me permission, then I just raise the rates without improving them. So think of a way to keep it under control and be very cautious before you bypass the rent control law, and give, anybody, free reign to do whatever they want, because they will do whatever they want, and the rent control board will lose their power, will lose their control over the situation. So as you're discussing that, just please take that in consideration.
Evening. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Rob Larson, 26 Browning Court. I had a question regarding the 2015 salary guide. It's an agenda item, correct? So I'm allowed to ask questions? Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but am I reading this correctly that if prior clerk, Ms. Dilch, was getting a salary of $85,000, why are we raising the range for her from 115 to 130?
I'm not sure.
Why are we changing that salary range? Am I correct or incorrect?
The prior range was 85 to
Okay.
130.
So if in fact, Ms. Dilch was doing such a horrible job and we're looking to get rid of her and she was overpaid and she was or wasn't doing her job, why are we looking to pay somebody new a ridiculous
115.
salary? Can anybody answer that question?
Well, let me check.
I didn't have any input on the
Well, I mean, I'm only assuming this is my only chance to address this because,
it's only first.
so, I mean, correct me if I'm incorrect.
All right.
Okay.
Did you want to
There'll be
stress
discussion.
it, that you
Okay.
didn't do it that way?
But do you have an answer
That you
why
did
we're
it
looking to
lower?
hire
You started
somebody
lower?
and put this different range into place with such an increase in salary?
I'm not sure what's on there. I have to take a
All right,
look at
and why are we increasing the CFO's salary?
We don't have a copy of that on the dais.
it. We're not increasing anyone's
We're
salary.
increasing the range.
Increasing the range,
Range, yeah.
range, okay. I mean, do you have a rationale for that or a reason for why we're doing that?
Well, presently, the CFO is part-time.
One that was on the desk
Okay.
tonight?
They went full-time.
I don't have that.
I'm sorry, I asked why we were increasing the oh, I'm sorry.
I said, presently, the CFO is not full-time, it's 32 hours a week, I believe, correct?
Okay,
So what are the CFO to become a full-time?
okay.
You might have to go a little
And
bit.
the last question I have for you, and I don't know if I'm accurate or inaccurate on what I've heard, are you guys looking to increase, and you specifically, are you looking to increase your salary from the $5,200 and something dollars to
No.
upwards of $10,000? Is that correct?
No,
You're not?
no.
Okay. But you are adjusting that range for council and for your salary, correct?
That is the proposed range that was proposed by the CFO to be deliberated by the council.
Okay. But under that guideline, you would be able to raise your salary, correct?
No, it would have to be voted upon, and I
Right,
got,
public referendum. I got it. And my last question was, I've heard a lot of murmurings regarding the payment of invoices owed by the town as far as vendors and such.
I think that's not on the agenda. If, you can save that for open comment.
Technically,
I just wanted to see if anybody had any answers, because it does concern the,
technically, they're the
fiscal-
payment of bills on the agenda.
all right. Well, can I ask that question then?
No, I mean, it's on the agenda.
Well, it
payment of bills.
technically is, but I didn't know if this was going to be my only chance to speak, so I figured I would ask the question.
what
Does
is,
anybody
what's your
have any?
question?
Well, there's unpaid invoices that are not being paid by the town. And from what I understand, this has become an issue regarding the police department and other departments.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
should I
any-
address that with the CFO or should I address it with you?
There's often a timing thing. I don't know the particulars on each
Okay.
one. Yeah.
So you have no idea what I'm talking about?
Unpaid invoices.
Unpaid invoices for
It takes
services
a
rendered
while.
and/or goods.
It takes a while for things to get approved, yeah. I mean, I
But
don't know which
unpaid?
ones you're talking about.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have we any other questions or comments? Sir?
My name is John Betts. I'm with Great Regards Tenants Organization. And I would like to speak in favor of the ordinance amendment. But I would also like to make some statements about the relationship of what the town wants, what the landlord wants, and what the tenant's position in this.
Mr. Betts, there's going to be a public hearing just on that issue when we get to
Okay.
that item. So you may want to
All
wait
right.
until then.
Well, I will, but I'll just for a section here. It has to do with the town wants taxes, the landlord wants income, and the tenants pay. And there are various reasons for that. And there are various ways to deal with the tenants and the landlord and the town. And I will take you up on that, Katrina, all right?
Because I think there's other people who speak as well. So we can
Yes.
have all those discussions.
All right, very good,
It's not
thank
so
you.
far away.
Thank you, John.
Just about the salary range ordinance, I see it's on here. The questioning, it didn't seem like anybody really knew about the ranges or how they were established. How did that come about? Can you get an idea of what sources were used to come up with those salary ranges and how they got to those numbers?
Yeah, go on.
I made them up all myself. I looked at what the current salaries were for each of the positions and employees in the township, and I varied the ranges above and below that. It was pointed out that the lower end of the ranges should be lower to accommodate potential new hires, and I redid the ordinance to reflect that. I don't know if everyone has that. I have a feeling that you don't.
Nope.
But I did redo it with some lower ranges for the non-contractual employees.
Yeah, it was not provided on the dais tonight, your amended salary ordinance, so none of us have a copy of it.
I did just do it on Monday, so it might have been too late.
Yeah, but I don't have a printer. My printer is broken, so, well, I assume that we would have it up here since it wasn't in our bins.
Yeah, so that was all me. That was all my my creation and my error, my slight, so it should be no reflection of the governing body.
So what Mr. Larson has is the old copy? Is that what he's looking at right now? Is that what you're looking at, Mr. Larson?
The range that he
Yeah.
quoted was the old copy.
Yes, okay, so you have an old copy. You don't have the updated copy. So those ranges are actually lower, the beginning rate, excuse me, the beginning ranges are much lower than what you have on your paper. No, because it's not, it hasn't, the ordinance hasn't gone through.
No, but you can come in and get it.
It will be once this is adopted, but
After first reading, between first and second reading, it will be published. And there will be a public hearing.
is there any way I can get a copy of the new one so I can look at it? Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments?
Thank you.
All right, having seen none and heard none, I make a motion to go out of public comment. Second, all in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Looks like we have a special presentation tonight from the Lopatcong Veterans Memorial Committee. Mr. Nixon?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Bill Nixon.
On behalf of the Lopatcong Veterans Memorial Team, I would like to thank you for providing us with the time this evening to update you on the progress and to present you with a couple of questions and requests. Before I do that, I would like to introduce to you the team of people who have been volunteering their time since January of 2014. Unfortunately, Terry Lee, one of our key members of the team, is very ill and cannot be with us this evening. Terry is a combat veteran, Vietnam Coast Guard. Also with us this evening is Conrad Miller. Connie is an Air Force veteran. Myself, being a Navy veteran. Bob Race, 20 years, United States Navy. Terry Stalker, he's our token Marine. And Brian Weeks, he's our Lopatcong DPW superintendent, very valuable to our team. And Gary Wolf, being a Navy veteran. You can see we're kind of top-heavy with Navy people. They know how to get things done. We are here this evening, as you may have seen in the letter that I sent you previous to the meeting, to request your support and your permission to continue with a couple of projects. We would like to propose that we organize a Memorial Day ceremony that would be held in our township, May 29th, 2016. That is Sunday, the day before actual Memorial Day, to honor our military personnel who died in service of our country, particularly those who died as a result of wounds sustained while in battle. We would also include a field of flags in honor or in memory of our veterans. And as you saw in that letter, we have several KIAs, and we now just recently found that we have a second MIA. We would also like to add a friendly neighbor to our Veterans Memorial in honor of our veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice. 2 MIAs, 6 KIAs, whom all lived in our township. We would like to propose a multi-purpose site to be constructed directly to the west, next to the Veterans Memorial, possibly a stamped concrete pad similar to the pad of our Veterans Memorial, approximately 35 feet by 35 feet. Our vision is music in the park for all ages. Ceremonies, we call it in the military a rally point, a place for people of all to meet. This we envision as being an open air facility and would be basically maintenance free. We could use an 8x10 shed for storage of lawn maintenance equipment, storage of unserviceable flags, which, by the way, there are about 30 flags in the flag box right now. We have an unserviceable flag burning incinerator, stainless steel, that we store, and we have a flag rack for our branch flags to be raised and properly displayed on holidays. We would like to store those items in a shed that could be nearby the site. Rakes, I'm up there constantly along with a couple of my neighbors who volunteer to keep the place nice and neat. We're seeking your support using the township's social media, technology, identified mailings for solicitation for donations to our residents and our businesses. I understand the cost of a mailing. We did that when we initially built the site, and it's just something that we don't have to get us started. But we will be seeking donations for these projects from our residents and the businesses in our community. I will tell you that they were extremely generous when we built the Veterans Memorial. We exceeded beyond our vision because of our community. Our goal would be to have this rally point completed and dedicated May 29th, 2016, when we have our Memorial Day ceremony. And we envision that ceremony to be very similar to our dedication ceremony. Our community would be involved. I've already met with Janine, principal at the middle school band, middle school choir, fully engaged in the community. And we feel really good about that. I guess you know where I'm talking about as far as where we'd like to go with this. I failed art, so I'm just going to quickly show you that this is the Veterans Memorial as it exists. We would like to go about there with the rally point. Nice little piece of property. People could have easy access to it, handicapped accessibility, beautiful location, and some music in the park. Do you have any questions for me or any of the people on the team? And we work together. Great. It's amazing.
I know if there's anything the recreation committee can help you with, just let us know, because we wanted to try to help out and start some music in the park. We wanted to do a brick fundraiser, and we did want to talk to you first.
Yes.
Because I know you guys are interested in doing something similar.
Yes.
And I
It
know
would be very good.
I know you've spoken to Kenny from the LAA, and you know you have his
Yes,
support 100%.
we would like to wrap some of what he would like to do around what we would like to do up there. We had a beautiful Flag Day ceremony up there. We had the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts fully engaged up there. It was really, really nice. And, the music in the park thing,
I think it'd be great.
personally, I'm tired of running to Chappelle Park, Winona Park, McCungie Park, to have music in the park.
I agree.
This is my home. And I know we have people in our community who are looking for something like this.
Yeah.
We can bring in, a guitarist, a duet. We can bring our students from our school to perform publicly. So many
Oh,
opportunities.
yeah, definitely. I had one in my hometown. It was very nice.
Yes, very nice.
If any help you need, just let us know.
I appreciate that. And, we look forward to hearing from you about whether, how we can move forward with this. Obviously, the most important thing from the very get-go is to coming up with a plan for the site. And I know Marla Roller was extremely helpful to us when we did the site before, and I've let Marla know what we're doing or thinking about this time around, but we'll have to get some funds together so we can get started.
I think it's a great idea. And I don't have a voice, but it's great that you guys are taking the time to do this and taking care of it and getting the flags to be put out properly. And I also am going to check in and see what kind of mailings we do have going out of the township. And if we do have something going out, maybe we can incorporate that into
That would be totally awesome. The cost of mailing.
Yes.
We don't have that money to put, I know how crucial that is to get the word out to everyone. The social media thing is only good for a certain percentage of people in the township.
That's right.
So, anything we can do to get the word out there that we need their help
Okay.
would be wonderful. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I'll let you know as soon as we figure something out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I want to
Lou?
keep it taking the initiative. Yourself and all the gentlemen in the back, that this is a noble thing you guys are doing.
Thank you.
To bring this into the township, to recognize the veterans, past and current ones, and also for a place to congregate.
Yes.
Just to, reminisce, guys want to tell some old stories.
Exactly.
It's a great place, and it's an honor.
Yes.
And I think that, as you said earlier, the township rose to help fund
Yes.
this project. And I believe that the township will continue doing that.
I would think that they would when you put the word veteran in front of it. They understand, they know, and knowing that we've lost so many people from our small township who are serving our country is. So we're excited about it, and we appreciate your support. And I did put in my letter there to you that I walked up there, or drove up there the other day. I should have walked, but I drove. And I came upon a wedding ceremony, having the pictures taken on the, I'm like, whoa, what is this? They came there to get their pictures taken in front of the Veterans Memorial. Whoa.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll go to old business. The first item on old business is to approve regular session minutes for April 14th, 2015, and executive and regular minutes for May 6th, 2015. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Belcarra.
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay. Yes. Councilwoman Schneider.
No, and one reason is, the minutes are so old, I don't know what happened at those meetings anymore. I'd have to watch the tape. And also, until we can get a policy that's in place that is consistent, then I am saying no to the minutes.
Council President Chesler.
Yes.
No, for the same reason she gave it, just too old. I'd have the capacity up here to keep all kinds of notes to remind myself of what was said at those meetings, and other than going to the tapes, I can't do it when there's so much time has elapsed, and I just feel I can't do it. So we would hope that shortly we will get to a point where the minutes are available the next meeting. That's what we hope. Okay. Second item of business under old business, ordinance number 1508. Second reading and public hearing of an ordinance to amend, revise, and supplement Chapter 173 rent control to permit negotiated rental agreements for vacant apartments. This is essentially a vacancy decontrol ordinance, I guess.
Brief overview before you open it up to public?
I would.
Okay. This is second reading and public hearing, an ordinance which is called vacancy decontrol. The ordinance came to council on recommendation from the Rent Leveling Board. Under the Township's current rent ordinance, annual rental increases are subject to a cap of 3%. If a tenant moves out of a unit and the unit becomes vacant, the landlord must still follow the 3% cap when he re-rents it under the current ordinance. So for example, 2013's rent is $900. The tenant moves out at the end of his lease. 14, the apartment is vacant. Had he rented it, it would have been $927. 2015, a new tenant moves in. Regardless of what the new tenant is willing to pay, the landlord can't charge more than $955 because that's 3%. If the landlord fails to take advantage of a rental increase in 1 year, he permanently reduces his allowable base rent. Another example, 2013, it's $900. 2014, he could have charged $927, but he charges $900 for whatever reason. 2015, his maximum allowable is $927. Had he increased in 2014, it would have been $955, but he is now permanently set back by not doing it. Under the proposed ordinance, the annual rental increases are still capped at 3% unless the unit becomes vacant. If a tenant moves out and the unit becomes vacant, the landlord is allowed to rent the unit to a new tenant for whatever rent the new tenant is willing to pay. Using the same previous example, 2013, the rent is $900. The tenant moves out at the end of the lease. 2014, it is vacant. 2015, a new tenant moves in. The landlord can charge whatever rent the market will bear, assuming he rents it for $1,000. Then in 2016, the next allowable rent is $1,030 because the rent control applies again. So once a new tenant comes in, the rent control applies again. And that's some difference, and I know some confusion or concern some people have had is that once you decontrol a unit, it is decontrolled forever. And that is the way some towns do it, but that's not the way this ordinance is written. Once the new tenant comes in, vacancy decontrol, it's back to the 3% cap. So just as under the current ordinance, if a landlord fails to take advantage of a rental increase for a year, he reduces his allowable base rent, just as before. The difference is that once the tenant moves out, the landlord can then set a new rent. So same example, 2013, $900, 2014, $900, could have been $927, but $900. 2015, $900, and at some point the tenant moves out. The landlord can then set the rent in 2016 when a new tenant moves in for whatever the market will bear and whatever the tenant will pay. So Some of the landlords who have approached the rent leveling board, some of their rationale was it would give them an incentive to freeze some rents because they know when that tenant moves out that they could raise the rent. It's important to note that the ordinance provides a requirement that the landlord notice the township when the unit becomes vacant and when it's rented to a new tenant. This way, the rent leveling board can keep track of all the allowable base rents. Also, there's an anti-harassment provision that provides the landlord, prohibits the landlord from harassing or intimidating tenants to get them to move out. The penalties under the ordinance are the normal penalties that you would get for any violation of the rent leveling board ordinance. In addition, there is also the penalty of a loss of privilege for applying for vacancy decontrol for the property. So if they're found to be in violation, one of the penalties could be they can't decontrol any of their properties for a year. So it's not just a monetary fine, it's a loss of privilege under the statute. That is just an overview, and I know there's some people who want to comment.
Do we open it for public comment?
Yeah.
Motion.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's open for public comment. Oh, we have to do all in favor? Okay.
Aye.
Okay, John Betts, with Breakley Gardens Tenants Organization. Part of the ordinance states in the fourth paragraph in the whereases, the landlords have expressed their desire to provide rental reductions, freezes, and other incentives to some existing tenants in need of assistance. However, it goes on, however, under existing control, it doesn't allow these to occur. That wording is good for now. It should be revisited at some later date, though. The other thing is that when you look at us, we tenants, we are the paying people of the town's taxes and the landlord's income. Now, if you raise the price, when the landlord raises the price of the rental, your tax receipts go up. As every year our rents go up 3%, it's like paying an adjustable rate mortgage for ad infinitum every year. The adjustable rate mortgage in essence goes up 3%, even though it's not a mortgage, but we're tenants there. And the tax rate goes up 3%. You start at 18% as a static tax rate, and every year that 18% goes up 3%, and then 3% of the next one, and 3% of the next one. This constantly increases the tenants' expenditures and tenants' total outlay. The total outlay of the tenants basically become almost as much or more than the outlay of a homeowner with a fixed rate mortgage 30 years prior. After 35 years, the tenants have paid quite a bit more, and there's too much to actually discuss right now or to say right now. But it's my feeling that the ordinance that we're looking at is acceptable if the landlords really do desire to provide rental reductions during this period of the rent control ordinance, this 2.5 years now period. It's basically and there are differences in rents. You've got 408 apartments on our footprint, the property of about 15 acres. They produce around $120,000 with municipal taxes. If you put 60 houses on a quarter acre apiece on that same footprint, you'd be talking only a $60,000 income from that same situation of houses. So by increasing the number of residents, but by decreasing the size and decreasing the ability of ownership, you've got the tenants paying twice as much as the homeowner does in relationship to relating a ratio between the two. All right, now that's about all I'll say right now. As far as the ordinance goes, I think it should be passed with the understanding that the benefits go to certain groups of people that the landlord chooses to reach out to, seniors, possibly disabled, things of that nature, if the landlord decides to do it. And that's the hinging point here. And as far as the decontrol of the unit, that serves as an open market incentive, which is good. It also will be controlled by fair market rents, values. I doubt anybody will, any landlord would ever go outside of that, because if he can't rent the apartments, he's got an empty apartment, and that's the basic idea. He wants to rent the apartments, create a tax income, create an income for the landlord, and rent all his apartments and do it effectively. Whereas, because especially in our Salem Management Berkeley Gardens, there was a point about a year and a half ago where the vacancy rate was up 90 to 100 apartments empty. So they were losing rental incomes, and yet they still had to pay the taxes and utilities on that piece of property. There's a lot more to talk about these things, about these issues, but for now, that's all I'm going to say.
Is that your question? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me. When you talk about seniors and disabled getting a break, wouldn't you want to see it in the ordinance?
Well, yes, it would be good to be in the ordinance. However, I am of knowledge that there are certain aspects of individuals that do not allow that for legal purposes. I would also like to express, though, on that note, I'm glad you brought that up, Donna, is the fact that there is senior freeze for the seniors in homes, in house, and people that own houses. Why isn't that discrimination against all other homeowners? And it is a double discrimination against tenants who are paying over the basic life of a mortgage on a property. If they start renting, say 30 years prior to the present date, the basic expenditure is more than the price of the mortgages 30 years prior, and it's basically goes up, and it's like paying a present day mortgage on a three room house, and it just rises and rises and rises. So the idea of protecting seniors or disabled from that increase, especially the seniors, is due to the fact, and disabled too if they're on Social Security, but seniors, because they are on Social Security and pensions, which don't have cost of living increases too much anymore, which may be ripped out from under them. It's a good thing to offer this forward to the seniors and the disabled too.
Yeah, and I'm concerned that the verbiage isn't in here about that.
Well, you see, Donna, with this ordinance, I know the verbiage isn't there. If it could be put there, that would be more acceptable. If it's not going to be put there, it's a talking, I will say it right here, it's a talking point for 2.5 years from now to extend on that whereas statement. And that's where I sit on it, okay? That's where I stand in that situation. All right, okay, that's all I have to say. And I thank council for considering it, and it's good in some respects, not as good as it should be. All right?
Thank you.
On this matter.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Katrina, could you just please explain to me again what you were talking about with the penalty if a person was to engage in some kind of harassment?
Yeah.
I just wanted to understand that.
Yeah, the way it reads on section G of the ordinance, it says, in addition to the penalties set forth in section 17317, which are the summons, go to municipal court, you got a violation. A willful violation of this subsection shall subject the landlord to, 1, on the first offense, loss of privilege to apply for vacancy decontrol at the subject property for a period of not less than 1 year. 2, on the second offense, loss of privilege to apply for vacancy decontrol at the subject property for a period of not less than 2 years. 3, upon finding of any further offenses, loss of privilege to apply for vacancy decontrol at the subject property for a period of 5 years. The complaint for violation of this provision shall be brought in the municipal court for the Township of Lopatcong in accordance with Section 173.
Okay, so it's a
So
scale.
in addition to getting a summons
Right.
for violation, like any other section, it would also be, the municipal court judge could impose and say, you've lost your privilege for up to a year on the whole property, not.
Right, that was the clarification I
There's also
wanted.
the
So it's not just for that unit, the landlord's actually losing that privilege on the entire,
Attorney for Salem is seeking, is that what I mean?
it's per unit or?
No, it's the whole
The
property.
It's the whole property, right, okay, good. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you for the
but that's, I
explanation.
wanted everyone to understand that it's nice to say not to harass your tenants, to kick them out, but then when you ask me, what are you going to do if they do it?
I have a question.
Do you want to finish your public hearing?
Oh. Can this question go?
Well, we should probably let the public go first.
Yeah.
Oh, is there any more public? Oh, there was some, okay.
Maybe you can clarify. I don't understand how taxes work on apartment buildings with landlords. So my question is, by allowing the landlord to bypass the 3% cap on vacant apartments, so let's say they do charge more, let's say instead of 900, they charge 1,000. Does a township get additional tax revenue for sure from that?
You'd have to check with the tax assessor, but it's my understanding that the assessed value of the property is based upon, one of the ways you can assess the value of the property is the income approach, which
Okay.
is how much income is the landlord making. If they're making more income, you get to charge them more taxes. Also, if landlords refurbish their buildings so they can charge more, so for example, if they renovate a whole building so they can charge $1,500, we could increase, especially every time they get a building permit, we get to increase their assessment.
Do we know in fact that that is the case, how we assess? So in other words, do we know in fact that if the landlord raises the rent, the township will definitely benefit from that?
You'd have to check with the assessor. It's my understanding she does what's called the Chapter 91, which is she asks for income statements from all commercial income producing properties every year, and she bases her assessment on those.
Okay, I would suggest that might be something important for council to know, because I think the point is we want to ensure that the township is benefiting from this change, not simply a landlord by his or herself. Thank you.
There's one. Tom?
Ms. DeVos?
Does she have to wait? 'Cause she's-
No.
Oh,
Oh, it's public,
she's good.
But she's also a member of the public.
If you wanted to ask her to wait till all the other public is done commenting, you could do that.
I just wanted to make sure we don't go out of order. Mrs. DeVos, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Katrina, I have a question for you. When we refer to why we can't put it in writing in the ordinance to freeze the seniors at 1% and the disabled at 1%, would you like to explain why we didn't
My
put it in
legal
there?
opinion that forcing a landlord to freeze certain tenants is not a valid ordinance.
Thank you. It
Although the
was,
landlord has made promises, putting it in writing, making a requirement that they do it that way, it's my opinion, it is not legal. But I think the attorney for Salem may speak to what they're currently doing and what they plan on doing.
yes, I just wanted to make it clear that it was not the rent leveling board's recommendation that we do not put that in.
No, in fact, you asked me to put it in, and I told you you could not.
Exactly. Thank you.
Tom?
Sir?
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. My name is Sean Smith. I'm an attorney with Brockite, where my office represents Brakely Gardens and Salem Management Company. I'm here today to talk a little bit about the amendment that's proposed to the rent control ordinance that was recommended to this council by the board that is charged with enforcing and regulating the rent control ordinance, the rent leveling board. Just so that you understand a little bit about the process about the development of this ordinance. This ordinance was crafted through a collaborative process of both landlords, tenants, and the rent leveling board. There is an interesting hiccup in your ordinance based upon the age of your rent leveling ordinance, that it hasn't been updated to be brought in line with most municipalities in the state of New Jersey, which have some form of vacancy decontrol to address the realities, the economic realities, and the incentives and disincentives that are created with these types of economic regulations. Your council mentioned earlier that there are vacancy decontrol ordinances in the state that when a unit is turned over on vacancy, the unit is made exempt from rent control for the history. So there are some units within a particular property that remain under rent control, and as the property is slowly turned over, those units become exempt from rent control. There are also rent control ordinances that have vacancy decontrol that are permitted not just on turnover, but on the expiration of a particular tenancy. Now, those ordinances have been challenged on occasion by tenants because of the way that it deals with from a conscionability of the increase to the tenant, but those ordinances do exist. But the vast majority of the remaining rent control ordinances in the state have some form of vacancy decontrol that is similar, not identical, but very similar to what is proposed here. And what this ordinance really provides is a unique, fair balance of the economic interest of my client, who certainly has an economic interest to be able to increase their rents over the long haul, the interests of tenants, particularly the current tenants and the existing tenants, that their rents are not on the next turnover or the next expiration or renewal of their lease suddenly increase dramatically, that they still retain the protections of that protected tenancy, and the interest of a municipality, which is ultimately in having commercial property owners who rent and provide for housing to their constituents. And at the same time, you have a little bit of a conflict there as well, that you're also looking towards the ratables and the tax effect of it and generating of income. Well, what this ordinance really does is really sort of balance all of that. What it does, and I did actually, Mr. Mayor, have an opportunity to review the meeting the last time, the video. One of the concerns you raised is you weren't sure that this provided current tenants with sufficient protections. What's interesting about this vacancy decontrol ordinance is not only does it provide all current tenants with the existing protections under the rent control ordinance, but when a new tenant comes in and negotiates a new rent with the landlord, all of their future rents, all of their future rights are governed by the rent control ordinance. It's not as if that unit is suddenly exempt and living out in fair market world. It is still governed by the rent control ordinance that this council has adopted. Second, historically, what ends up happening with improvement or with these types of vacancy decontrol ordinances over the long haul, and it's bared out, and it's why most of the rent control ordinances have a vacancy decontrol provision, is over the long haul of that property, there are modern improvements that are made to that property. It is brought in line. And the reason for that is what this ordinance does is it gives a property owner an incentive to not just maintain the status quo, but to improve their property, to encourage people to come to their property. Because don't forget, my client is a commercial operator. They want people to stay in their property and continue to pay rent. Well, the only way to really do that is to maintain your property as society changes and evolves. It's one thing if you're forced because you can only increase your revenues by, say, a cost of living adjustment, and that's what I as a person understand, but as just to keep up with inflation, that you're not able to make those types of routine capital changes. And the way the ordinance as it exists today operates is what ultimately happens with a property owner is over a period of time, the property is maintained in a habitability standpoint, but it's not greatly improved. And then what ultimately happens is 15, 20 years down the road, property owner makes a decision under the rent control ordinance to redo the entire building all at once. What happens on ordinances that have not been updated is all of those capital improvements are immediately passed through to tenants. And it creates a horrible situation both between the tenants and the landlords because they have a relationship. They have a month-to-month, year-to-year relationship. So what an ordinance like this allows is it basically incentivizes a client like mine to improve the property on a rolling basis. For example, what my client can't do now is if a tenant comes to my client and says, I'm having a financial hardship, I'm on a fixed income, I can only pay this amount. My client is prohibited under this ordinance from charging a lesser amount because it can never recover the lost revenue. What this ordinance allows my client and the tenant to do is to come and meet and say, hey, I'm on a fixed income. This is how much I receive every single month. I can only pay this amount in rent. Can you do that? Well, my client wants to keep the relationships going. If they reach a negotiated amount, that is the fixed amount. What this ordinance allows is my client to have the, and all landlords, multifamily property owners, understand that in the future, they will be able to recover that amount when that unit eventually becomes vacant. And what it ultimately does at the end is it improves the fiscal health both to the property and to the municipality. You have a commercial property owner who has the ability to increase its revenues, its tax ratables. Ultimately, that tax is paid to the municipality, the municipal government, which ultimately helps defer some of the overall expenses of the municipality. But there were some other questions about some of the protections that are in this ordinance. One thing that your council didn't mention is New Jersey has some of the strongest tenancy laws in the country. None of this ordinance removes those tenancy protections. The Anti-Eviction Act still applies to multifamily property owners over a certain number. It certainly applies to my client. The security deposit laws, those all still remain in effect. But what this ordinance does, and to the tenants' benefit, and certainly with its foresight by the Rent Leveling Board, is it provides additional protections way above what the existing law in New Jersey provides to tenants. It provides the anti-harassment provisions, and I must point out that the penalty of losing your ability to decontrol your entire property as a result of one action, not only is the harassment in violation of the Anti-Eviction Act, not only would the harassment in a landlord-tenant court cause significant problems for the property owner, as well as potentially in civil court for a whole host of reasons, but the penalty within the ordinance that prevents them from decontrolling the entire property for a year is a very significant penalty that is very broad, and it is a very significant protection that this ordinance gives to tenants within the municipality that does not exist anywhere in the state of New Jersey. The other part that was sort of glossed over but is actually very important for this council to be aware of, the Rent Leveling Board, your municipality has a at times very active rent leveling board. What this ordinance requires is rent leveling oversight on these types of decontrols. It's not like a landlord can come to the board 3 years down the road and say, oh, wait a minute, we had all these decontrols, all these turnovers, you have to give them to us. You can't now say that we're bound by the rent regulation or rent leveling ordinance. The reality is this provision says, in order for you to get this vacancy decontrolled, you have to file this form, you have to provide this information, and if you don't do it, you don't get it. And it gives the tenant the ability to object. So you're giving that tenant the ability and the due process rights that are required, or not required, but I think are given here to protect tenants if they feel that there's a form that's being filed that's improper. Because the tenant has the right to come before the board and say, wait a minute, I object. I've been living there this whole time. I don't know why this form's in there. So those protections that are provided to the tenants, the incentive that is created and the benefit of the vacancy control on turnover does really balance the interests of both sides in this, as well as a third party, which is you, and the municipal interest in both regulating your rents and your rental market within the municipality, but also assuring that you have a incentive for commercial property owners as well as your constituents to live and operate in this municipality. Thank you.
See a question?
Sure.
How many vacancies does Blakely have at the moment, do you know?
Exact numbers, no, but the property operates about between 10 to 20%, depending on the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can't speak for the other property owners in the municipality, but for Blakely,
It's about 10%.
it's been as high as 25%. There have been, I mean, the practical reality is there have been, as Ms. Campbell mentioned earlier, there have been discussions and an informal arrangement between the landlord and the tenants to try to freeze some rents to create the incentives to bring in more tenants, and that has worked to some extent.
Okay. And with this ordinance, as Mr. Johnson pointed out, how do we know that the apartment will be renovated? How is there a way to check that? Is there a way for us, has that been done before, where there's a check to make sure it's been done and not just vacant and then nothing done to it and then another a higher rent charged?
The reality is, Councilwoman, and it's a fair question, it's done on a case-by-case basis. If the market permits a property owner to increase the revenues on the property so that they can make the capital investments in the property, historically they're going to make those capital investments because they want to encourage higher rents. They're not going to want their building to fall into a dilapidated state because then they can only charge a lower than market rent or even lower than what they would even permit on the rent control ordinance. And I think from an ordinance perspective, I don't believe you can legislate those types of requirements on any enterprise. But I leave that to your council. To-
It's our hope that that's what becomes of this, because you change, they've given the opportunity to get higher rent, that they have an incentive to put some work into their building, hoping they'll get the money. But if they think they can get a higher rent and leave it exactly the way it is, that's for them to decide. And it's the new tenant who comes in to decide if they want to pay that. They can look and say, oh, I'm not paying for that. I need new carpet. I need this.
And there's an interesting issue on that always seems to get swept under the rug. People tend to forget, maybe in a one-on-one landlord-tenant operation, you might have a landlord who's not overly incentivized to keep the people that it does business with in a good state. But in a property like my client's, it's several hundred units. They have a business relationship with several hundred people. If you do not work with those 700 people in a way that's effective, you lose your revenue stream. You don't do that from a business perspective.
Sure.
And that's certainly something we can't regulate. We cannot force people to renovate their.
No.
I mean, I know. This is, we're counting on the free market to kick in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yvonne Redmeyer, 27 Browning Court. I just have a quick question, and maybe I missed it in the ordinance. Is this ordinance only applying to multi-unit landlords?
Yes, it's only to,
Over
I
a
think,
certain amount?
4 or more
More.
units. So if
Okay.
you had a duplex, it doesn't. So as far as we know, it only applies to Larkin and Salem.
Okay, thank you.
And someday, Sycamore Landing.
Has Larkin weighed in on any of this?
Yes. Yes, the boss.
Eric Johnson, Stonehenge Drive. A question, do any of these rental units fall into a low or moderate income bracket that's required by the town that put this in? Because I know a lot of times you put up a development, you have to have the low to moderate income, certain percentage.
None of our COA units come out of these 2 developments. However,
Okay.
there are, I think there's Section 8, but that's a completely different
Yeah,
issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that wouldn't affect that, so that's good.
They have to work.
So I think something that has to just take off the table is the freezing the rent thing. That's all talk. Can't hold anybody to it. That's not a reason to do it. Maybe, hopefully it'll happen. But there's one loophole in here that you have to think about. I'm not saying it's a deal breaker, but I can manipulate this ordinance. I can purposely vacate one of my apartments for 1 month to raise the rent and then put it back on the market 1 month later. Because there's no time period, if I understand it correctly, that it has to remain vacant for this deregulation to take place. So take that into consideration.
It could be
I don't
vacant,
understand that.
none at all.
It could be vacant for 1 month. Like I can
Right.
have a person giving me notice that he's going to leave my apartment. I'm not going to put it back up for rent till 1 month after he leaves. I've got 1 month vacancy where I now can do whatever I want with that rent.
That's
And
exactly
that's
what
free
the
market
ordinance
and
That's
work. Yeah.
yes, that's.
Technically, you could.
But I could
have
do
a
that on
vacation
purpose
next
to
day.
get around. I can do that around.
Harass anybody out of there.
No,
If
it
they
wouldn't be
leave-
harassment. It
If
would
they leave,
basically-
then it's vacant, and now it's time for them to decide, do we want to do vacancy control and try to get a higher rent or even a lower rent? You know, as all part of the free market.
Right, exactly. My point is that I can hold off a renter for 1 month just to make sure I get
Under the
that.
ordinance, you wouldn't even have to hold.
No,
them
you wouldn't
off.
have to.
Yeah.
If you had a tenant that wanted to move out on the 31st and you had a new tenant that wanted to move in on the 1st, you could change the rent.
You can do it right there.
Because
You
it's
can do
not
it.
a rental, it's not a renewal. It's not the same
Right.
tenant
Okay.
staying. It's a
It's
new
immediate.
tenant.
Okay.
So that is, the word vacant makes you think it's empty. It's sitting empty or, and in my
But it's anytime
example,
anytime it changes hands, we're saying that this
Correct.
ordinance applies. Okay. And then an argument for the other side. To be honest with you, if I'm trying to rent an apartment, this is economics. This is supply and demand. I can't turn a $700 apartment into a $1,200 apartment. You can't screw anybody like that because it's supply and demand. It's economics. He's not going to be able to rent for any more than the market will bear. So he's not going to be screwing anybody. He can't. It's not possible. So for that reason alone, I think we're looking at, supply and demand, like I said, market. This is what the market's going to dictate. So I think it's going to be fair, and I don't think he can screw anybody. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Joe Imhoff, 240 Aurora Street, and I'm related to her. We need to put in perspective when council talks about most municipalities in Jersey and comes up with the figures. we need to realize that for over 600 and some municipalities in Jersey, less than 15% have any rent control ordinance. There are only 2 in all of Morris, Warren, Sussex, and Hunterdon counties, the other one being Morristown, which is quite more urbanized than rural Lopatcong. I would challenge council to come up with rural townships that have rent control. Also, as Eric, yes, as Eric already said, the best way to ensure getting modern improvements into apartments is to see another complex like Sycamore Landing go up. And that will allow the marketplace to control the rents, not what I consider to be an unnecessary commission in the township. Also, I'm wondering if any of council members have any personal or business relationships with Salem or Larkin that might cause them to be recused from the voting process on this ordinance.
I do not.
No,
I don't.
I'm not a secret millionaire, sorry.
Mr. Imhoff, just to speak to your, Morristown is the only other one. When I was preparing the township's ordinance, as I often do, I check what other towns do to see if they had any brilliant ideas. And Morristown is actually where that anti-harassment policy came from. And the only other towns I found that had anti-vacancy decontrol were New Brunswick, Hoboken, because they had rent control. But you're correct that Morristown is the closest neighbor that has it, and that's where the language actually came from.
Yes, in spite of apartment complexes being in White Township.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm confused about, why all of our surrounding townships don't have any rent control board at all, but Lopatcong does.
They never adopted it.
And I guess, I don't know if they have any rental issues in their townships, and I guess that's something we would need to explore to see what a rent-controlled town versus a non-rent controlled town, what their issues are and what's working and not working, to know if a rent control board is still needed or not needed.
Yeah, I agree. Personally, I always like to see that the seniors are taken care of. But in this case, it appears that, according to council, that we can't do anything to be certain that they're better taken care of. And that would be illegal. We can't give them right of freeze into there.
You can't force a landlord to freeze them.
Well, the landlord could consent by agreement to do that, but, I think the only purpose to have a rent control is to protect people that are, up against hard times. And if you're not going to protect the people that are up on against hard times, why have rent control? But that's how I look at it. Tenant association, that seems to be that they can live with this. So there you go.
I think it's a nice balance. Before, we weren't giving our the landowners any recourse, and I know if you continue to, like you said, if your vacancies go down, you're not bringing in the money, but yet your taxes are going to remain the same. So you're not going to be able to do the improvements you want to do. At the same time, everybody who's now renting is protected. It will give them the ability to adjust it to the market, which will help them with their vacancy. And also at the same time, hopefully, you do want to keep all the properties in town up to code, up to speed, and looking good. Thanks, Katrina, for putting it together.
I'd also like to just say that I think that, there are some protections in this, as we discussed. The protections of the penalties that come into play if necessary. And this is incentive for the landlords to upgrade the properties, which is good for the town, because then possibly we'll get some more tenants in there, which of course is more residents to the town. In the long haul, and those are the people that are doing business in town. So I really think it's a win-win. I think that we should give, the landlords a chance to, stay by their word. They say that, we can't put it in writing that the benefit for the seniors, but they're saying they'll give them the benefit. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's try to help the seniors out and do what we can. And if this gets us there, let's try it. Let's make the effort to move forward with this.
I think that we have to do everything that we can to help protect our seniors in town. As I said this before, one day every one of us young folks will be there, and hopefully the young people will be there on my behalf, my interests as well. And I said this before, I don't care about any other towns that do not have rent control. The only one I care about is Lopatcong. And that's it. I don't know why other towns are always interjected that they don't have rent control and how that works. That's not my concern. I live here, and the residents come here to, looking for help and support, and that's what we're here to do. So that's where I stand with this issue. I think that the leveling board is a representative on behalf of the renters, and also between a go-to the governing body.
Mhm.
So it is a vital importance that, if that was taken away, then I think that the seniors there would lose protection. Of course, remember, the landlords are always there for one purpose, and that is, in their own best interest. It's a business, and business is about making money. So that's why we have to be here to make it fair. For the landlord, we want them, stay in business, and also to be profitable as well, at a fair market value. But at the same token, protect our seniors.
I'm not sure if you closed the public hearing. If not, I would do that.
All right, motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we need to do a vote on this?
Yes, motion to adopt.
All right, yeah, we need to do a motion to adopt. Make the motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Valcarro,
Yes.
Councilwoman Page,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider,
Yes, with some reservations, I still would like to research the towns that do not have rent control. It's always good to have knowledge, and it's not a bad thing to know what's going on around your community, in other communities. Of course, we're here for Lopatcong, but we also need to see how other things work in order to make sure that what we have is solid. So with reservation, I will say yes.
Council President Chesler,
Yes, and I'd like to thank the Rent Leveling Board for the work they do. Thank you.
Mayor.
I'll say yes, but I'm hoping that the rent leveling board monitors this very closely so that our seniors are, are okay. Okay, new business. Item 1, ordinance 1509, first reading of the salary ordinance setting ranges for all salaries for all employees.
There's, we received one on Friday, we received a new one today. I haven't had a chance to look at this. I know on the original one, some people had requested, some of the bottom limits have been raised. I haven't had a chance to go through all of these to check them. Some of them, like council members and mayors, were given a range, which again, we have no intent of changing our salary, so I wouldn't even want to have it that high. And I'm not quite sure. I see police officer year 5, year 4, certification rate, hiring rate. I'm not sure if I'm missing one. I would kind of like to make a motion to table this because we didn't, until we can look at it a little further.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's some questions about the ranges, we have some different versions out there. It might be in our best interest to give this a closer look before we move forward. I'm not comfortable with giving raises to ourselves. I mean, even though it's a range, to ourselves and to the mayor, I mean, I don't like that idea.
Well, it's not giving a raise. It's a range.
I know, but why is that range in there?
Oh, we can discuss it further.
Well, it's there for discussion. I mean,
Right, so,
I think input was requested, right?
Like Lori said, I didn't get any of this till Friday, and I guess we.
Friday, that's the way this is done. This is like big
I
time.
was on
advance,
vacation, so and I had
notice.
limited Wi-Fi, so.
This is it.
You can table it, it's fine.
Okay,
There's a motion.
Yeah, I made a motion to
Second,
table.
Maureen. Motion to table. Oh, sorry, yes, motion to table.
Yeah, you seconded it. Yeah, I made a motion.
okay. Roll call. Oh, you want to do all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item, resolution number 1596, establish pay rates for the municipal employees.
Motion? You looking for a motion? Motion. I'll make a motion.
To approve it?
Yes.
Second? Discussion?
Is there a second?
Yeah,
mayor
chance.
seconded.
Did anyone review them to make sure they were correct? I haven't had a chance.
These are the actual wages, correct?
Right, that's what's in the payroll records.
Yep.
Some of the titles aren't. correct, so I wanted to make a motion to table. Look at, Lorraine. I think before we approve something like that, we should make sure that the titles.
Is everything corrected then?
Again, maybe do further discussion.
What motion do we have on the table?
Let's clean this up.
Motion to table.
So there's already a motion.
It's a motion to approve it, so you have to vote it.
There's no second. Right, oh, there
No,
was.
the mayor.
From the mayor. Okay.
You said a motion in a second.
Yes. Yes, please.
Councilman Delcara,
No, not at this time. I choose to table it along with the scale pay range.
Councilwoman McKay, I would say no also, it should be tabled. Councilwoman Schneider,
It's not a rush. If there's something that needs to be adjusted, I know the pay is correct, so, if it needs to be adjusted, we'll just table it for now and we'll go back to it.
Council President Cheslin,
No.
Mayor McKay.
Oh, no. Okay.
Betsy, you know which roles are not correct, which,
That would be good.
okay.
All right, resolution 15111, authorize the Township of Lopatcong to implement a corporate sponsorship policy. This is a first step in a multi-step process whereby the township can co-brand and do things with outside entities such as hospitals, and in return get services from those hospitals, and maybe some kind of assistance for our athletic programs. So we have to do it in a certain fashion. Our township council has advised us that we begin it with this point.
And just for clarification, what you're actually doing is you're authorizing a competitive contract to be seeking proposals for a corporate sponsor.
So that means the
That's the
door to others,
resolution. I
right?
have Beth wrote it. That's what's in your packet, but just want to clarify because it's worded a little differently. So just understand you're using a competitive contracting, which is a statutory provision as opposed to a formal bid. It's kind of a step down.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we can get sponsorships from hospitals or any other
Any
type
other.
of business that wants to sponsor.
And then you can make it very specific too. You could say like, we want to find a sponsor to get us a new, scoreboard. You
We
can
probably
limit it.
do things like this now with uniforms and things like that. So, I mean, but that's small. There's some opportunities for
Right.
some larger stuff, and that's why we need to have it done right.
And the corporate sponsor wanted us to sign an agreement that they would be the exclusive sponsor.
That was really.
That was what really
value-
triggered this.
value was.
You don't want
I
to
would
just,
recommend that the administrator is the one who has to prepare the proposal.
Mhm.
So I would recommend that you maybe put together, maybe a member of council,
Mhm.
maybe a president of your LEA,
Right.
to sit down and give her some guidance. For example, if you're going out for proposals, unlike a bid where you have to say, we want X, Y, and Z, you can say, hey, we want proposals. Anyone who wants to be a corporate sponsor for Lopatcong, you send us your proposal. Some might be exclusive, some might be not. But if there's a very specific term that you want, for
Right.
example, I know the LEA is very interested in baseline concussion testing.
Mhm.
So if you want all of your proposals to, that's the bare minimum, you have to propose that. You might as well put it in when you go out. And because this is not like a formal bid, you do have to put a evaluation criteria in your
in your
when you go
proposal,
out
right.
in your proposal, so people understand how you're evaluating these, because it's not like a formal bid where the best price wins, because it won't be a price. So you may want to just give that some help. I know Kenny Lutz has offered his
Yeah.
assistance,
Yeah, he has.
because he has said that concussion testing is something he'd really like to see from a sponsor. So maybe a member of council wants to assist.
I'll help them. So we have to vote on this?
Yes.
Do we have a
Motion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
second?
Roll call?
Councilman Vaccaro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay? Yes. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes. Item 4, approve the purchase of 2 Sterling L8 8500 single-axle dump trucks. One is a 2000 for $15,009, and the other is a 2004 for $19,009. There will be certain additional expenses related to these acquisitions, in as much as we will need to buy 2 plows. It is recommended to us that we buy new plows, because the plows that we have would cost almost as much to recondition as it would to buy new plows. And plows are very difficult to get this time of year, so we have to move on it. We also need 1 salt spreader, and we anticipate the cost for reconditioning these trucks to make sure we get the plows fit and all that kind of stuff will be about $5,000. All in, it's going to be $62,000 to $65,000. However, we got Aqua to give us $25,000 for the truck that fell in the hole. So that we'll apply that $25,000 against this, which brings it down to about $40,000 to acquire the 2 used trucks. We're putting this now to the council for approval so that we can make the purchase.
And I just have a couple of comments to add to that.
Yes.
We don't have a capital improvement plan in place, and that's something that I would like to work on for next year in the interim, because we don't have cash on hand and we don't have much in our capital improvement fund. This is the best we can offer for the DPW, to have enough equipment to plow the snow in the winter, to get the leaves in the fall, and to have trucks that are reliable, that aren't going to break down. It will also help to reduce overtime expenditures when we have some trucks that are up and running all the time. The DPW has gone out and looked at these trucks, and they are, these are the ones that they would like to purchase. We sent them out on a wild goose chase looking for some used trucks, and it's very difficult, especially for the range that we had and the funds that we had. It's very difficult to find them. When they do come along, you have to grab them. And these are commercial trucks. They are the trucks that are used on the highways. They're state trucks, so they're not like, small municipal trucks. They're pretty heavy-duty trucks. Also, with the purchase of the plows, if we do have to trade in the trucks, eventually maybe for something better, or sell them, we can always keep the plows, because they can be outfitted to other trucks that we do purchase. So the purchase of the plows, that'll benefit us for a really long time. And we are hoping that these trucks give us hopefully 15 years to serve the purpose, and so we can get a capital improvement plan in place and get that rolling and stick to it. So, the DPW would really appreciate the purchase of this, and I would really appreciate it because it would give our residents and our DPW safe equipment that's not going to break down and plows that aren't going to drop on them. So I would hope that this does get passed.
Okay. Question, 2001 and 2004, those sound like very old trucks. A 14-year-old truck and an 11-year-old truck? I mean, how are you going to guarantee that that's not going to break down? It sounds like to me that
There's no one who can make that guarantee.
this is true, but why are we spending money on a 14-year-old truck and an 11-year-old truck?
Because they
That's
last
old.
25 years.
Yeah, they're 25-year trucks, we're told. And if you add the remaining life on both trucks, you get like 15 years. So,
Could we possibly,
more
is there
actually.
any way to lease any kind of truck like this? Or can we put the funds together for both these trucks to get one?
You can't lease them, you have to buy them right now, and the new truck is $170,000.
Brian, we will not borrow money to buy him a new truck, so.
You can't do some sort of.
Not now. I mean, you're gonna
Next
have to
year.
buy new trucks, at least next year.
That's why we need the
You have
capital
to.
improvement plan to be put in place and left alone, where we put $50,000 a year away for future trucks. These trucks should get us down the road long enough to where this capital will have accumulated to be sufficient to purchase new trucks, and then we'll do that. But we can't do that now because nobody saved any money and there's no reserves.
Well, as you
So-
can see, we're gonna go through all this now. Almost, we
Well,
start
we
at
had-
55, we're gonna go through at least 40.
Right,
That's
so,
how it goes. You
40.
try to put aside, but things happen.
I know.
well, it would be more if we didn't get the 25 from Aqua. So, the 25 from Aqua that the mayor got for the truck that fell into the sinkhole is a big help to get us to the 2 trucks and not just 1 truck for this go around. But yeah, at the end of the year, if there's money left over, we can try and get it into capital and try and have a plan in place. Well, we need to have a plan in place. We have to have a plan in place in order to keep making our equipment new. I mean, there are some of when you walk in the DPW yard, I don't know the specific name, I forget, but the tractor that cuts the grass with the big long arm out, when you look at that equipment, some of it looks like it belongs in the Warren County Fair Museum. It's so old, and the things that they have to put on these machines just to make them work, instead of having rocks fling at them, they had to put a makeshift screen on there because it's broke. And it's scary to see that our guys are riding around on things that they've tried and they've been successful in fixing year after year after year on their own. But there comes a point you just can't fix it anymore. Then you're stuck because it's going to break down and you don't have a plan. So it needs to have a plan. We need to have a plan in place for capital improvement, and this is a good start. And next year, if we can find it, that we can fund a $170,000 truck for DPW. These trucks can be traded. They're of high value, and it works for now because we don't have any trucks. We have 1 truck, and if you wait any longer, there will be no trucks for sale. There's nothing out there.
We went down one when it went into, the other one went into the hole. And I got to thank Brian and his guys for going out and looking at these trucks. It's not easy to run out there and try to make these decisions. And then, you're always going to be held, oh, why'd you buy that piece of junk? But I think they made the best decision that they could based upon the availability of assets out there to acquire. And I think we should get the trucks. It'll get us through leaves. It'll get us through the snowstorms. If we don't buy trucks, then we can't pick up the leaves and we can't plow the snow. If we start to go out and try to hire people to do that for us, it'll cost us a lot of money. And so this is a relatively low, I think, amount of money to spend to have that assurance. Brian?
Brian, can you come up, because I'd rather kind of like to hear from you.
Here's where we're at, just to hopefully put it at ease. We went out, go to Massey, coworker. We've been out all over the place. We've been out past Penn State. I just took my Saturday on my own time, went all the way up to East Stroudsburg, went all the way down past Philly. There, you can look up trucks. You look them online, they're beautiful. Go look at them. They're the worst thing. You wouldn't even want to look at them.
Yep.
All right, they're taking pictures of things that are looking nice, not You know what I mean? So when you look at a truck online, they look like they're great. They've held on to trucks so long anymore that they're, because the economy fell, and then you went to the brine. All right, it's eating the trucks away. These are PennDOT trucks. Okay, they have their own clean in place system. They were cleaned. There's very little rust on them. Okay, can I promise you they're gonna last the years you're saying? No, because I can't promise if I go buy a car down the road it's gonna last. All right, but it is the best thing that we found for the price we have. Is it something we can afford? Yes. Is it the best thing maybe for the town? That's something your pocket has to tell me. We looked at it from a perspective of the plows. We looked at it from a perspective of the trucks. We looked at it from a perspective of buying one compared to buying two. All right. This was batted around in my department with the mayor and Donna, which is oversees my department. Lou called me, and we talked about it a little bit. Lori called me also. The way we looked at it is the plows are something I can transfer to the new trucks when you get them. Okay, the ones we have now are 20-year-old plows. Okay, there's metal on them is so stressed that we're welding on top of welds, and we're reconstructing a whole plow for $4,000. You know what I mean? It's not worth it at this point.
And we also have,
right where you are, the net cost of the trucks, if you take the plows out, which are reusable, is $20,000 for 2 trucks, because we're getting the $25,000 from Acme.
But where you're gonna save your money, besides, and it benefits the public, is there's 11 developments in this town. All right, I don't have 11 trucks. Okay, so that means there's developments that wait. I get phone calls, why aren't you in my development? I can't be everywhere. Okay, I picked whichever ones, try to keep it safe as we can. Putting 2 trucks out for $15,900 or whatever it is with the plow to plow, I kind of say that's a future. All right, for just the trucks. I'm going to spend that much in overtime.
That's right.
Okay, we talked about contracting out. We'd spend that much more than that to contract. All right, we spent thousands of dollars. I mean, double digits. All right, to contract for 1 year. All right, we could have bought the truck in 2 years. We could have bought it outright. 3 years, we could have bought it outright. Is it the best trucks we found? Yes. Did I look at these trucks 2-3 times? Yes. Did we take them for rides? Yes. Did we try everything out? Yes. Is there things that need to happen? Yes. We need to fix them a little bit to make them to us. Okay. I think it's wise to purchase them, and that's where I'm leaving it.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and plan for the future, because you are going to need another one.
That's right.
Truck 19, half the truck rotted away.
Right.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
Well, you do have quite a lot of money in your budget, I know, because some of your spending has been held back.
Well, my spending was held back in the beginning because you didn't pass me a budget. So now I'm trying to figure out how to get to the things that the public needs.
As far as the zero turn that Donna
Zero
was talking
turn,
about,
I'm
could you buy
nursing
one
that around
outright
right
this
now. I've
year?
got real heavy oil into it.
Okay.
You will be buying me another one next year for almost $10,000 there.
You should look at your budget too,
They're
because
10 years old. How many people hold mowers for 10 years?
Yep.
And we cut with them for 8 hours a day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? For 3-4 days a week.
But you'll have money left in your capital expenditures.
I'll have money left, and I'm hoping at the end of the year I can get one at a discount, maybe roll it into this
It
year.
won't be at the expense of this year, though, will it? Because I know there's some concern with the
I don't
LEDs
know.
that
Depends
your
if it
guys.
dies.
Right.
If that mower goes out and dies and spring comes and I got to cut grass like everybody else.
Yep.
You want me to be
I gotta
honest?
cut grass.
I'm a little worried that you're being held back, so your budget will be robust at the end, but we need to make sure things get done
The
this
reason
year.
why it's being held back, and I'm not pulling any punches here with you, I've told you all. All right. The budget didn't pass till June. All right. We did what we can do. We held within that budget. Okay. It was given to me. Okay. Now you throw me money, but September, around the 3rd week of September, I start leaves. Okay. So I only have this window right here to do everything. There's no possible way with the manpower you gave me to do everything.
That's right.
So things are going to lapse. Okay. We've been out trying to blacktop. I got to fit within, because that window was shut down. I've got to fit within. The only roller isn't ours. The roller you see us use is that's Harmony's. They give it to Greenwich. They give it to us. They use it. All right. Our window is whenever they don't need it.
Right.
You know, because our window was April, May. All right. And we.
I know budget.
Okay. So.
I'm just saying, as a council, we support you guys 100%, and we know that you guys are here for public safety more than anybody else. If you need more manpower, come to us.
Well, I'd like
We
to be able
wanna make
to
sure
go out
things get
and lay hot patch down, you know, for 3-4 weeks straight. And I need that manpower to do that, because right now you're talking, what, a couple more weeks and I don't have any part-timers.
That's right.
They're going away.
Yep.
Four people does not keep the roads moving on a safe
No,
track.
it doesn't.
That gives me a truck driver, a roller, and a backhoe. All right, you haven't given me anybody to flag traffic, you haven't given me anything to do anybody else.
That's right.
All
You don't have
you
anybody
give
for
me
your
enough
own
people to do
safety.
what I need to do.
That's right.
So that's why I've come to you before and said, you need to give me full time.
Yes.
So I can make it work all year long.
If you need to, you come to us.
Well,
You know
I
that.
need to come to you then.
I know.
Well, yeah, we talked about that. We talked about
You
that.
can talk with any way you want to talk about it. I mean, I'm looking right now, I priced it out today. I talked to Lorraine, about doing the lines on the road because I don't have the time to get to them. I wanted to talk, with Paul. All right, and having, Denville is through the Morris County Co-op.
Okay, right.
All right, have them come in and paint all the lines on the roads, all right, that are not going to be, ripped up. You know what I mean? I don't want to put and pay good money for something that's going to be ripped up. Like, I would rather put the cheaper paint down, have them do it, but put the cheaper paint down for me. All right, it's $1.26, I think, a linear foot or something like that. All right, and then it's $6 for square foot for arrows and different things like that. It's estimated 3 to 5 year paint. The paint we put down lasts a year. All right, so it balances out in money. All right, so these are the things we're looking at. These are the things we've been talking about. I mean, I haven't pulled any punches with anybody. You don't, right?
We trust your judgment 100%.
You know what I mean? But we keep on moving every day, and I think the trucks are wise choice. They're not the best, but if you don't do something, if you lose these, and Joel back me, I don't know where we're going to find them or anything to use.
Not this late in the year, no.
No. So my opinion is to purchase.
Brian, I just want to make a comment that I know we spoke the other day and filled me in on all this information here. And you did a good job. And I just want to make a note to all the people here that I trust Brian's expertise when it comes to selection of equipment and trucks with Demasi and his men. Because these are the guys that work with the stuff day in and day out. They know their equipment, they know what they need. And I know that he spent some time searching around for these trucks. And he told me there's nothing else out there. So time is of the essence right now. As he said, the leaf season's coming up. And I heard the latest snow report that's going to be above average this winter. So the past couple of winters that you've seen, it appears it's going to continue. I believe, I'm looking forward to that, but but the men have
so
to
one more
be
truck
ready
into
with
the
these
mix
trucks.
can only do nothing but make it.
That's right.
It eliminates our overtime.
Right.
Okay, but it benefits the town, and that's my job is to
That's
make
right.
to take care of that.
And I know Donna made a comment, when they,
$15,000 you can blow in overtime like that.
oh, yeah.
And before you know it, winter is here.
Yeah.
Well, I also get leaves done better, faster, because I got another truck in the mix, and the public is safer for
That's
that
right.
reason also. So.
That's right. All right, let's do a vote, please.
I have a comment. I know you made a comment that when they come along, we need to grab them, and I just want to apologize to Brian and the DPW. A truck did come along right after the sinkhole. That would have been a great truck, and I'm sorry I didn't push it along.
All right, like to make a motion to approve the acquisition of these two vehicles and the plows.
Motion?
Second.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilman Beltrano?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Mayor McKay?
Yes. Go get the trucks, Brian. All right.
How long before you get him?
Well, tomorrow I got to pull it down and then about a week.
You'll have him in about a week?
What I did is I negotiated with them that they weren't going to put in, there was a couple lights that were out.
Right.
All right, and one battery cover was missing.
So within 2 weeks.
I wouldn't take it unless he fixed it all. It has to be road weather, worthy, 100%, everything.
So before we see him on the road, within 2 weeks?
I'm hoping to.
Okay.
All right, but the first thing he's doing is going to the mechanic, be fully looked at and everything, check to make sure there's something wrong with it.
Okay.
That would need to go.
Okay. Next item, discuss the sign ordinance.
The Township Council at the last meeting asked me to review your current sign ordinance. I did that. I sent you all a memo with my recommendations for revisions to the ordinance. I also gave you a draft ordinance. I recommend that you do first reading tonight. Second reading and public hearing would be next meeting, and this way you could get this revised ordinance on the books before the November election signs start popping up.
Do you want to talk about,
Well, I think so.
the letter that you received, or what, Ms. Endick was talking about, and what
The
your,
letter we received from Sendic came after council had already authorized
Yeah, we
me
already
to do
authorized
that
her.
research. So I did nothing differently than I was going to do before, which is make a recommendation regarding your current sign ordinance.
okay, so the questions that she asked earlier, can you address those questions?
I don't remember what all of them were, but I think this ordinance addresses a majority of her concerns.
And we're the ones with the authority. And one of our questions was who has the authority to do this? We make the ordinance.
Oh, yeah,
ordinances.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
maybe that'll answer some of your questions. I apologize. The process, because this is a land use ordinance, is it will then go to the planning board and they will have an opportunity. They have 35 days to review it. So before we come back on second reading, the planning board will have reviewed it and they can make comments to the council about if they have any comments or recommendations or anything like that. And then the public will it'll be advertised, the public will get to make their comments as well at second reading.
I'm not sure anybody, the people out there even know what this is. The ordinance, the present ordinance allows for a certain size sign. I think it's like 2 foot square, 4 foot square. Is that what it calls? 4 foot square. During the last election, some of the signs that were placed out there were bigger. And there was complaint. And so now we're addressing how to, what to do about that complaint. What's being proposed is that we change the ordinance so that the signs can be larger, about 50% larger, correct?
Correct. Just to be clear, I did not review this ordinance regarding only political signs. This is for all signs.
It's all lawn signs, right?
All signs.
Well, yeah, the rest of it, the new party. It addresses big signs too, like commercial signs on the major highway, that kind of thing. So what we have to decide as a council is whether or not we should be increasing the size of these signs. I don't know that a lot of people, might like that. I mean, because a lot of people don't like the signs to begin with. So making it 50% bigger or allowing them to be 50% bigger, a lot of people wouldn't care for it. Now, I think one of the things that comes into play here, or at least some people are putting into play, is that the signs would be more visible from the road, and therefore motorists would not crash their cars trying to read them because the print is too small. So that was another concern, I think, that they're not readable.
And from what I'm reading also with Katrina's recommendations, she's saying that, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's saying that based on case law, that any sign under 6 square feet, is a violation of your constitutional rights.
It's not exactly what I said, but it's close. I said that I believe 4 feet will be found to be unconstitutional, and I pointed to a case regarding 6 feet, and the reason the council and I put 6 feet, because I could have picked 8 feet or 10 feet. Specifically, what the case law says is it can't be arbitrary. You can't say, well, 4 feet is too small, so this council says 5, 6. I checked with Paul Sturbins. I asked him, I explained to him the standard that's set forth by the New Jersey Supreme Court and the United States Supreme Court, which is who hears these cases. These aren't law division cases. These go right up to the top as they're free speech. And Mr. Sturbins believes that 6 feet is enough. Quite honestly, I was going to recommend higher. And he said 6 feet, in his engineering opinion, is high enough. Good enough. Sorry.
If anybody doesn't know how big 6 square foot sign is, I just want to get you close. You can look at the paintings on the wall. They're approximately 6 square feet, 3 foot by 2 foot, approximately. So that's about the size of the sign you're looking at.
This is not public comment. So I guess, this is what, just unexpected that it would go in this direction. If the council wants these larger signs to become the norm, then you're going to have to vote yes on Lou's law.
Unfortunately, there's a lot out there that are that big.
This
That's the
ordinance
problem.
is not dealing with just political
Mm-mm.
signs, so let's get that straight. It's dealing with the rule guy. Was a
Well,
sign.
I know, but this ordinance wouldn't have come into, we wouldn't be changing this. We wouldn't be changing this if it wasn't for the political signs. They'd all
And
be the
because that
same.
was content specific, which made it a violation of the First Amendment law.
We're gonna have a hearing on this, right?
Yes.
Any other members of the council that wish to sign?
I just want to reiterate what Maureen said. This is not just for that, because there are a lot of other signs there that are in violation right now of the current ordinance of 4 square feet. So they're all.
That's right. That's right.
It's my opinion, it's unconstitutional. It wouldn't be upheld.
Yeah, that I was surprised at.
I gave you the case law to support it.
Yes, she did.
Normally, I don't give you all that much citation, but I gave it to you this time.
I know, but we're not lawyers. Well, one of us is, but not me.
And this is the only case law you found regarding signage.
No, there is plenty on. In fact, if you want to go online and find a layperson's, I think the state of New York has something called municipal sign, and there's a 50 pages on sign ordinances and municipal signs. And like I said, it's New York, so it's New York State, but most of the cases come from the United States Supreme Court. So it's a kind of a good,
I mean, I seem to think that most of the political signs I see in adjoining towns are all the old size, they kept small.
Well, just not for nothing, but Greenwich has an ordinance that you can only have one sign on one lot, and they don't enforce theirs either. Because ShopRite is one lot. And how many?
I think that applies to residential, I think, but.
the town of Hackettstown has an ordinance that says sign 6 feet is theirs, unless it's a political sign, and then it can be 32 square feet. So I didn't recommend that.
Consistent. That's what
Yeah, I think people are just looking for guidance for Lou's law.
That was uncalled for, because if you
I
don't
think it's-
change this,
it's
then we
fine.
have to send out violations to a lot of people in town.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
Why?
And after that letter was filed, another sign went up at a business across the street from where I live that was in violation.
You know that they're different, so we'll wait for public comment. Different.
All right, what we're doing now is we're going to take the first vote on this. Is that something? Right, so we need I'll make a motion to approve this, so for the first vote.
Second.
Introduce it.
Yeah.
Oh, to introduce it, I'm sorry.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Belcaro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe? Yes. Councilwoman Schneider?
I'll say yes to introduce.
Council President Chesler?
Yes.
Yes, to introduce. Okay. Next item, 6. Resolution 15-113 to approve conditional redevelopers agreement concerning the Ingersoll Rand property. And I see some folks are here from Ingersoll Rand. Are you here to make a statement, or are you here to observe? So then please come forward.
Why was the public not informed that they were going to be here?
I didn't know they were going to be here.
Okay, because I think this is very important for the public to know that they're going to be here, and I would certainly want to listen to you today, but I think we're going to have to ask you to come back so we can actually advertise it, because the public's going to be very interested in this development and its impact in Lopatcong.
Oh, we didn't know.
You can't argue with that.
It's on the agenda about the signs that we were going to introduce an ordinance tonight. And we are.
You don't think people wanted to know that they were going to be here? Really? You're going to be accused of doing a backroom deal if you don't be transparent.
Well, it does say it on the agenda.
It says we were going to approve this agreement, which none of the other council members have heard anything about this. I had issues with that too, but again, I'm just saying, like, the public would want to know. They would want to be here.
I was unaware of this. I think that it would be best, to advertise this in this way that the public presented in this.
I think that these folks, I assume that they came here to help us understand what they're trying to do. And I don't think that that would be harmful for them to make a presentation and then to come back another
Come
time.
back again.
We can ask them to come back a second time as well, since they're here. Make a, you know, they can make their statement and then we can ask them if they would be willing to come back again.
Bill, willing to do that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. But we're not gonna, I don't think we should vote on anything tonight on pertaining to this, but we'd like to hear you though.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Joe Bauman. I'm with McManaman, Scotland and Bauman. I'm the attorney for the Opus Investment Group. There are the entity that's hoping to be conditionally designated to develop the Lopatcong portion of the Ingersoll Rand site. We are already conditionally designated for the Phillipsburg site. That happened about a month ago. And we're also currently working with Citus, which controls the core of the property, to sign a contract so we can acquire that. I have with me 3 other people, Dan Garral and Aaron Murphy, who are principals in the company, and Tom McGrath, who's setting up a board so we can just walk through with you the concept that we have in mind for the project. I just want to take, I won't spend too much time, but I just wanted to give you some broad strokes about what we hope to do and why we think this could be very beneficial to Lopatcong, Phillipsburg, and the entire region. So it's a warehouse project, currently expected to be about 4.4 million square feet. In Lopatcong, there would be about 1 million square feet. It's going to, as a result of that project, a number of very important things will happen for the region, for the town. It's going to clean up, finally, complete the remediation of that site, which has been ongoing for many years, hasn't been completed. We're in negotiations with Ingersoll Rand, the responsible party, make sure that that gets done. But at the end of the day, it'll be our project that serves as the cap for that remediation. It's going to provide some significant rateables. As you can imagine, I think the site now produces $1,294 in taxes in Lopatcong. Our expectation is that will be much more significant, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, significant number for Lopatcong with the rateable. Importantly, sort of in this day and age, in this economy, is the job projections on this project. We currently are expecting, for both Lopatcong and Phillipsburg, about 1,500 total construction temporary jobs, 800 direct, 750 indirect. And we would hope to have permanent jobs of about 1,750 direct and another 1,000 indirect. So you're talking about almost 3,000 jobs produced from this site. So a significant job producer, again, at this time in this economy, pretty critical to the region. Importantly, there will be obviously no school impact on this project. This doesn't bring school children necessarily to the project, so it shouldn't impact at all on the school budget. And then we have, as you'll see, we're going to spend a little time, there are some public amenities designed into the project so that this can also have a benefit to the public beyond the rateables. The thing I also want to sort of share with you is the challenges that we're facing with this project. There's a lot of stakeholders. There's sort of a lot of trains we have to bring into the station at the same time. Phillipsburg and Lopatcong are the most critical trains that we have to bring into the train station. But we also have to have Ingersoll Rand come along with us and Citus come along with us. We want to make sure that we do it environmentally sensitive, so we're conscious of the environmental community and what they want out of this project, the labor community and what they want out of this project. At the state level, we have to deal with DOT, DEP, and the state, so there's a lot of state involvement in the project as well, the county and the Highlands. So there's at least a dozen probably stakeholders that we want to make sure have something to say about, are invested in the project, and are also ultimately considered to make this a successful project. And clearly, as you know better than I do, this has been a piece of property that just hasn't been developed for a very long time. It's a complicated property for many reasons, including the number of people that we have to make sure come along the process. What we have going for us, however, which is not insignificant, is historically low interest rates that continue to this day, and construction costs that are still relatively attractive. And perhaps most importantly, this warehouse sort of industrial use is sort of cycling up right now. It's cycling up significantly in this region and throughout New Jersey. And so it's a cycle we really don't want to miss. So as I was describing in one of our other presentations, time is sort of our enemy on this project. We have everything all aligned now to make something successful. So that's not to say we don't want you to be diligent and careful and thoughtful. We don't want to be transparent. We will and we do. We will do and will through the process. But we also want to make sure that we can sort of move along at a nice little clip. And for that reason, I really appreciate that you let us speak today. And we're happy to come back. Maybe even if you want, you can come to a special meeting, and this could be just what we do, so we don't have to even wait a whole another month. That would be even the best result for us. So I'm going to let Dan and Aaron are here for questions, but I think we can, in the interest of time and the lateness of the evening, let me just turn it over and we'll sort of walk through some of the site plan. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom McGrath. I'm a partner with the firm of Chester, Wosowski. We are the site engineers and planners for this project. I have 3 panels just to go over quickly tonight. I'm going to do it quickly, and that we're going to be coming back again. First panel is an aerial photo that we're showing the development on Lopatcong site, on the lot of the Lopatcong site, and the Phillipsburg site, showing the Ingersoll Rand buildings, the old foundry buildings and the like. Shows the area where the dump areas were at the back of the site. It shows where the loop roads and everything went through the site. And it shows the relationship to this site, to the Lopatcong site, and to Route 22, which borders the site, the Lopatcong site, all the way along its frontage. Giving you that orientation, I'd like to do a colored rendering first of the layout of what we're proposing for the site. It was previously mentioned, there's approximately 4.4 million square feet of warehousing space on the site. To accomplish putting that much warehousing, logistics type building on this piece of property, the infrastructure, the road networks surrounding the site all have to be improved and blown up so that we can accommodate the traffic and everything that's going to be generated through here. One of the major things that we're looking at first, and I'll stand behind Tom kind of a little bit here, so we are proposing to do a double left turn lane off of Route 22 onto the Lopatcong site. With that falling apart.
He didn't design a stand.
Good to know.
It's important to share the architecture. Okay. Let me move around the front now. Let's go through it quickly. I mentioned the left turn slot. What that does is it gives us an interconnected road as we come off of Route 22. It brings us through the core of what we're proposing as a project. As you enter in from the Lopatcong side off of 22, there's one building we have labeled as 8 on this panel, and it's a 1 million square foot building on its own. I seem to be having an issue at this. It did have these in 101. So looking at the panel, I'm trying to get in an area where everybody can see it at the same time. Building 8 is 1 million square foot. It's kind of situated, I'm sorry. Trying to get the view of the people too at the same time. It's kind of oriented in a north-south direction. It's proposed to have truck trailer parking and bay access to the building on both sides. There would be vehicular parking, particularly cars and things like that, for people that work in the building on either end of the building. So you come in through the 22 entrance onto the site, past this building, and then you're into the core of the rest of the site. The buildings that are on the rest of the site range from about 1 million square feet down to a low on this one, about 236,000 square feet. The buildings are set up relatively the same. Most of them are double loaded. There are a few, the smaller ones, that are single loaded. We're hoping that the users for these would be able to work with that type of scenario and be able to make the site work. One of the challenges that we have with the site is, although if you look at the site generally, it looks like it's relatively flat, but there's a lot of terrain to cover here. Just to give you, for instance, the Lopatcong building, and I'm not going to try to put that up there.
There you go. That's Lopat.
You gonna do that? Got it, yeah. The Lopatcong building, just to give you an idea, the frontage, the length of the building is 2,000 linear feet, and it's 500 feet deep. That gives you the 1 million square feet on that building. So to give you some sense of what we're dealing with here, that building is going to be one level like this floor. In other words, they can't break the plane of the building while they're doing the operations here. This all has to be level so that, you know, the interaction through the building, the warehousing and everything, will work. And what we have to deal with then is a large grade change. So what we're going to do is we need to develop this as an entire site, not just a single site, because we need to work this end of the job with this end of the job, moving dirt from one side to the other, particularly taking material out of here because of the access from 22, be able to get our road network in here and make this building work with this road network. So we'll be doing cuts up in the area of the northern end of the corner by 22. That material will be moved into the Lopatcong, into the Phillips side of the site. Now, Lopatcong site is about 101.8 acres, and that includes a little lot on the other side of 22. They were all part of the Ingersoll land property. This piece of property right now, the little triangle on the other side of 22, at this point, we don't have any use, not any use for, we don't have a proposed use at this time. The zoning for the property, as I have listed on here, is in the HB ROM zone, which is the underlaying zone. The property itself was put in a redevelopment. There's a redevelopment ordinance that was passed for it. In reviewing the redevelopment ordinance, you'll find that it does not allow this type of development. And the reason I bring up the underlaying zoning is that this type of development would be a permitted use in that. So what we're looking to do is come before you, be designated, I guess, the redevelopers here, and bring this project forward. We're also looking at the redevelopment plan be amended so this type of application can be accomplished. That's the reader's digest.
Yeah, let me just, two other things. I want to just point out the improvement on Lock Street, the public amenities.
Sorry, I missed on that. As part of this, we are proposing to do some other minor changes on the area where Lock Street comes in, would be the southmost, east corner of the site. Lock Street kind of wraps the back end of the project on the south side. Comes up and runs parallel to 22 for a while, and then makes a real hard angle to try to get out onto 22. As part of this application, we're looking to do is take Lock Street and turn it so it turns into our connector road, whereby giving the people on Lock Street in that area over there the ability to come up onto our connector road, or your connector road, and access and we turn and come up onto here, and we come into this, what is going to be a double left turn and a full intersection. You're able to make left and rights as we come out of here, as opposed to trying to fight with the traffic right now coming out at the end of Lock Street, which is just behind the diner on 22. Now on the Phillipsburg side, we have proposed putting in a little parking area, a playground, and a restroom type facilities, and putting in like a nature trail, and a trail that wanders out through what would be our proposed detention basin, along the back end of the Lopatcong Creek, and it would end up in the corner where we're talking about with this Lock Street. On the Lopatcong side, we are also looking to do a similar mirror of that, put a little parking area there, a playground, and the interconnector for that, so that there is a nature trail. To give you a sense, this nature trail is about 2,200 feet long, along the back end of the property.
And if you want to interrupt us with questions along the way, that'd be great. So let me just walk through how we envision the process. What we're asking you to consider is just conditionally designate us. And why that's important is, to date, you are not, in order for the municipality to be able to pay its professionals to spend time to review the redevelopment agreements, to review the concept plans, to have Mr. Turbans involved, have Ms. Campbell involved. We, in these cases, I typically represent public bodies, we require the developer to put up an escrow account. So the conditional designation would require our client to put $20,000 in escrow with you to pay your professionals, just like is done with the planning board application. So that check is on. I actually have it with me today in case you pass the resolution. So that really begins the process. The conditional designation then just says for the next 120 days, we'll negotiate all the really important documents. Mr. Sturbins will get involved, Ms. Campbell will get involved, and Leonard will get involved. The whole team will get involved. And then we'll have a negotiation of the redevelopment agreement, which will include the ultimate purchase of the property. And then in that agreement, you'll put us under commencement and completion dates. You'll have us require insurance. You'll make sure we remediate it, all this stuff that those of us that sort of are in this industry do. But in order to get that process started, in order to get your professionals working on the project for you, we need to have the conditional designation set. So that's what the agreement is, and we're hoping that that'll be favorably considered. Once that happens, then we're going to ask you to consider amending your redevelopment plan, and that is just like every one of your redevelopment plans. It goes to the planning board for comment. They come back, then you adopt an ordinance. We're going to ask you to consider a redevelopment agreement. After we negotiate it, that's a resolution. We believe that this project, in fact, we're certain this project is going to require some tax benefit for the end users. The fact of the matter is, in order for New Jersey to be competitive with Pennsylvania, our real estate taxes are a little bit out of whack, and our taxes pass through to the end users at the end of the day, not to the developer, but to the vertical developers. So we're going to be coming to you for some tax agreement to be negotiated again. That's another ordinance. That's another couple public hearings. So along the way, there's at least a half a dozen or more opportunities for the public to be involved, all your professionals to be involved, and we're just hoping to sort of get that ball rolling sooner than later so that we don't miss sort of this economic cycle that we're sort of is hot and heavy right this moment. So we appreciate your time. If this is a resolution you're not prepared to vote on tonight, we'd love to come back to a special meeting, in a week or two, rather than waiting the whole month. That would give the public a chance to come to talk on this topic. We'd like you to consider that as a possibility. And other than that, we're here for questions, and we really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you.
I have a question. Earlier talked about there'd be a double left of Route 22, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you be a little more specific? Route 22 East, Route 22 West?
I'm sorry. Becoming west on 22, from 78 headed in this direction.
Right.
At present, we can't turn onto the site.
Right.
There's no intersection there, but there's no frontage also for us to get to. So our proposal is to redo this section of Route 22, basically putting 2 lanes where the median is at present, opposite our project, and extending Route 22 or expanding it onto our property to accommodate those 2 lanes. And what those 2 lanes would give you the ability to do is then you'd be coming along 22, there'd be a traffic light intersection here. The traffic, what it be, trucks, cars, or whatever that are coming into the site would have a signalized double left turn lane for them to enter the site, whereby giving them the volume and the time frame that they need, not slowing the traffic on Route 22 with one big long left turn, giving them double left turn lane to come into the site. And as you leave the site to go east again, headed back to 78, there will be an acceleration lane on the shoulder area of Route 22 that we've expanded to be able to give the vehicles the ability to, access speed to the highway. Additionally, with that being a signalized intersection, there will be a signalized left turn to come out of the site to be able to continue west on 22. Coming east on 22 from around the curve, there is a ramp proposed that, any traffic coming in that direction would not necessarily go to the intersection. They would exit Route 22 prior to getting to the intersection to access this connector road. I hope that answers your question.
And of course, Mr. Storms will have to review that, right, with your engineering, and, we're early in this process, so we would look to them to.
Double left is going to be very similar to the double left that you have at Phillipsburg Mall.
Okay.
And what they're showing here is consistent with the current redevelopment plan for the site. It was envisioned that there would be a traffic signal and a double left leading into this property.
What kind of approvals do we need for that?
We don't need them.
We need
You have to get from DOT.
Yeah, and by the way, we've already spoken.
Yeah.
We've spoken to all the state agencies. We're in the
Mhm.
process. As I said, Phillipsburg's about 30 days or 45 days ahead, so we're clearly, they were telling me that they're ready to come in with a site plan application in a couple weeks, which I didn't know they were that far away. So we're really ready to move quickly.
Coming east on 22, okay?
Yeah.
There's a hard bend.
Right here.
Right. So how far down would that light be on that bend?
Oh, this building is 2,000 feet, so from the bend, it looks like the intersection itself would be about 2,500 feet.
Okay. So plenty of time for cars to slow down.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
and we'll be going through, traffic engineer is doing studies on it now. We requested a pre-application with DOT to discuss what improvements and where, the studies need to be, what we need to look at. We're hoping to get at that meeting in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
And the improvements, the cost falls on the developer?
Yes, 100%.
100%.
I take it, Mr. Baumann, you're not going to be submitting a site plan until you get the redevelopment plan adopted.
Yeah.
So I think the HB district doesn't permit warehousing, so you'd be before the zoning board.
No, we have to get the redevelopment plan amended. Even if we want to do a redevelopment agreement, which I think you're going to want to do to hold our feet to the fire, if we want to do a financial agreement, we have no choice but to amend the plan, which means even though he's going to be ready with his site plan, I can't submit it. So correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other road improvements that need to be done at all, or planned?
It's planned that there will be improvements to the bridge that
To the
comes
bridge,
presently
okay.
from 3rd
Mhm.
Street into the site. That needs to be upgraded to permit the type of traffic that we're looking at here. Presently, it's undersized, as I think, at 34
Okay.
Mhm. The bar across will not allow traffic, but we'd be anticipating to come through there. There is a plan that we're working towards right now to put 4 lanes through here, which is going to require some improvements on that
On that end
intersection.
too? Mhm.
The connector road and interconnector road, there will be some improvements to the Roseberry access to the site. We're looking to move it closer, actually presently where it is on Roseberry, but we're going to improve that intersection presently now, so kind of, it's a rough point now. It's not intended for the purpose of this project, though, but that is going to be a major access, other than maybe local people coming to the site.
As far as the traffic coming in and out, do you know how much you would expect? And would you send a lot? I mean, on the back entrance there that goes out to 22, that is a little tight coming around that corner. It's only the 2 lanes on 22. Would most of the traffic be directed if it was going eastbound to go out the other direction? Where you have the traffic?
Most of the truck traffic should be heading east on 22, with the exit.
Yeah, right.
Proximity to the interstate, with 22
Right.
in that direction. That's the reason for the larger double left turn
Right.
intersection.
Mhm.
You'll see that we gave them as you come out of the site. Move around here so I can point to it. This is Lock Street coming in, but this side of the curve over here, this is a lane that would allow traffic to go in, 78 direction, and it's an acceleration lane, so
Okay.
it's not intended to impact that directly, but that would gravitate people from the site
To use that, right, rather than go out the other direction where it's a little tighter.
Mr. McFarland, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to know, on the westbound lane where those double lanes are gonna be to come into the site, what impact is that gonna have on existing businesses that are in the area?
The intent is that there'll be a traffic light there now, which will actually stop the traffic in front of those businesses, where presently if the traffic just continues on by. You don't have the ability, there's not, stopping the traffic flow at this point. With the double left turn lane, it's intended to be a full, red stop for 22. Then you will get a full left turn movement, and exit from the site will be able to go. So the traffic along Route 22 will actually be stopped in front of the businesses that are there now, giving the people, time to be able to see what's there and access the other businesses that are along that frontage. As far as the frontages of the building, the lots that are on that side of 22, it's our intent to do the construction from the median onto our property, not impact the travel lanes on the other side. We just have to expand 2 lanes into the center island, create a new center island, and then move the 22 basically onto this property.
Okay.
So there'll be no impact to existing properties that are not owned by the company?
At
Okay.
the end of the day, we would argue that it's better for the property.
Okay.
It's just a disability.
Mm-hmm.
So, 2 quick questions, if you don't mind. Hours of operation and how many truckloads a day are you anticipating?
The track, we do have a traffic study being done, and I do not want to really make it a guess. It would be a guess on my part.
And hours of operation would be 24 hours a day?
Honestly, I don't know. I know we're considering 2 shifts here at this point, only for the purposes of getting a sense of what we need for utilities and water, or sewer and water.
Would it be possible to have those 2 answers at the planning board meetings?
I mean, it'll partly be what the town tells us, right, because we decide these things. And it's going to be also driven by our end users a little bit. And we don't know all our end users yet. For example, even my employment numbers, some of the end users we're talking to are going to double once we charge. So it's still sort of out there, but I think if they're wrong, those are questions we'll have to answer.
Yes, sir.
I'm Joe Fryer. I'm vice chair of the planning board. And I promise I won't ask you about the site plan. I know you have a lot of work to do yet. I do have some questions on the process, and I'll work backwards because that's easiest for me, I think. Ultimately, I'm assuming the site plan approval will be at the planning board. Right. Then before that, we need the redevelopment ordinance changed. That'll be here. That'll be at the council, but I'm assuming the planning board would have the opportunity to comment on that. And then the developer's agreement, that's here. Will the planning board have the ability to see that?
The final or the conditional?
The final. I'm walking backwards.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Sure. And the conditional, that sounds pretty simple. I'm assuming that's all in
Council advised
your
us
court.
that we could go with that.
Pardon me?
Our council.
The conditional is just a
Conditional.
2-page.
It's 2
Yeah,
pages.
okay. So the planning board would expect to see something as the real developer's agreement begins to be drafted.
I'm not sure the planning board has any say on that
Typically, have anything
document.
to do with the redevelopment agreement, but the whole public would.
Yeah, well, I tell you, my biggest concern is the build out. I heard one time was 7 to 10 years or something.
Now, we're thinking much faster than that, I gotta tell you.
Faster than that, and I think one of the concerns was we didn't want the Lopat building to be last.
That's driven by who wants to rent it, right? So, I mean, well, we have significant interest in the one building.
We do have the phasing plan in place that we will be presenting.
My name's Dan Garrell. I am the development manager for Opus Investments. To answer some of your questions, there's a phasing plan. And in that phasing plan, I have given my word to Mr. Mayor McKay and to Mayor Harry Wine. I have to build a building in each town to make everybody happy. Okay? So my phasing plan is very simple. Building number 8, which is in Lopatcong. Building number 3, which is in Phillipsburg. They are going to be built first.
Okay.
To go and expand a touch further, we are stuck at a position where we cannot go further until we are named the conditional redeveloper. Because as Mr. Sturbins will tell you, DOT, Mr. Doobie, will not even hear us until we are at a designated level. Purchase and sale agreement in hand. Purchase and sale agreement in hand. Purchase and sale agreement being negotiated with the town of Phillipsburg. So when you ask, sir, is it going to be 24 hours a day? I answer you this way. I would love for it to be 24 hours a day, because if it is, a 1 million square footer at 24 hours a day employs approximately 1,100 people at the minimum. If we were to do an Amazon.com, for that example, we're talking in excess of 3,000 jobs, and we're talking in excess of a $480 million impact to the communities. So that's, didn't mean to interrupt.
How many people are
We approximate 1,550 construction jobs, and depending, we are on our low end, we're talking about 2,500 permanent jobs, and could be potentially in excess of 4,000 permanent jobs to the towns of Lopatcong and Phillipsburg. Too early in the event.
Is there any kind of product you're going to try and keep out?
I'm sorry, sir?
Is there any type of product that you're going to try and keep out?
I'm going to live to the exact code that is in place. We're not bringing in the previous proposed. We're not bringing in a cement area. We are going to mirror. We would like to ask council, Mr. Mayor, and of course, I don't know where the gentleman went. Of course, the planning board is going to be involved. I would like for everybody in this room to reach out to Phillipsburg and find out exactly what our team's about. We are transparent. We are open. Every single stone gets turned over. So to answer school member's question, I'm going to live to the exact documents that are in place for the current redevelopment agreement that we are working on with council that will be in place, and that current document is in full.
Transparent. I don't know what you do that. You guys are coming here, except for that. There's like 10 people in front.
Well, we'll come back. We'll come back.
Yeah, we'll have to come back.
We'll come back.
We owe it to you guys to have them come back.
Yeah, we'll come
Because
back.
There's another question. There's another question.
Yeah, Rob.
Everything you guys have said sounds fine and dandy. Yeah. And I think in the end, it sounds like something that's going to be good for the community. But you all coming here in the fashion you did, it sounds like you're selling your ticket on a boat. That's it. To be honest with you.
I mean, we're nothing right now.
I feel like we're being pressured to sign this, conditional, and again, I'm only talking from a local government perspective, but there's been no mention of this. There was no pre-discussion of this. So I like to consider myself a person that is relatively informed locally.
This has been in the newspapers.
I know, but them coming here tonight.
I was not aware they were coming here.
I
I was not aware that. I think they came to support their position.
think it's out of line for this development to ask for a conditional approval tonight, if this is in fact the first time they're arriving here.
They've been here. We've been in Phillipsburg and here.
But it hasn't been the rest of council or the
Well, we
Lopatcong.
can't do that. That would be in violation of the sunshine laws.
We're supposed to do it here.
What? We had people. We had Mr. Van Vliet was there. You've been there. The township engineer's been there. The lawyers have been there. These were very, very, very preliminary meetings where the people were just introducing themselves and giving us conceptually what they were talking about.
It's just Phillipsburg has had it really open over there. They've been inviting them to all their council meetings.
They
I mean,
did
we
not
definitely
ask
want
to
them
come
to
to
go
our
there.
council meeting because they weren't ready to deal with us yet. The first time they asked was now.
And I think we should be quite a bit of engineering, highway, road development kind of study done as to how much road will actually be
coming on to 57, coming on to 22, truck traffic, employee traffic, the whole 9 yards, it has to really be looked at.
We agree.
You know, that has to really be looked at.
Yeah, I'm going to, what you're saying, Coastal, saying all the way. You're making left turns there, you're saying, you're trying to make a shove angle into the route 2 acres by trades, that area.
By trade.
It's over there,
Where the bridge is now?
Where is the 2-lane entrance going to be?
How far is it from the mall intersection?
The 2 lanes are on 22, right where, Memorial Parkway, sorry.
It's across from that warehousey type building and the gas station next to it.
Okay, across from Twilight?
The diner's on the corner?
Okay.
Just down from
Make
there.
sure where you're okay.
And Twilight and all will be intact?
The main entrance to
The little store.
Twilight's not going to be disturbed, and there's the pool place. We're not intending to disturb any of the property.
Katrina, could you just explain what exactly the conditional redevelopers agreement would mean to?
Sure. They're looking to be named conditional redeveloper, and there's a 2-page agreement that they've submitted that Mr. Lavery from my office, actually it's a 1-page, the signatures are on the 2nd page. And it basically just lays out that they're conditional redevelopers, that they're putting money in escrow for the work, some of which has already been done, that the, and then let me see what else is on here. It's basically, like I said, it's 1 page. It speaks to the next steps. It speaks to that there's a 50-page redevelopment agreement that would come after that. This is just the first step that kind of allows us to.
So the township would not be legally bound to make any other payments?
As Mr. Baumann said, it sets forth a 120-day period where we're stuck with them and we're going to try to work with them. And then at the end of the 120-day period, if we can't move forward, then it's kind of the way I think of it. And this is very, it's like an option. It's like we're going to work with them for 120 days and hopefully at the end of it, come out with the developer's agreement. But if not, that's what we're obligated.
All the towns are really obligated to do is good faith negotiations. In good faith. If the negotiations fail, they fail. You can't come to an agreement if you don't come to an agreement. And in exchange for that, we agree to pay the professional so the town can afford and negotiate. It's a good faith negotiation period of honor.
I take it during this 125-day period, we're going to work on the redevelopment plan. That's all going to be done. That's not going to be backloaded.
No, we'd like to do the plan, the agreement, the financial agreement, every critical document.
There's several people in the back. Okay. Sir?
Yeah, I have another question. You had mentioned within the area, there would be something that would be community beneficial to the surrounding towns. Did I get that right? or-
Yeah, so in the plan, our intention is Gate Street. No, I think it's not Gate Street. We would build continue Gate Street to a small parking lot. We would have a restroom facility, which would begin on the children's playground, which would be the beginning of a walking nature trail. That would continue up, circle around to the top up by Lot Street. Where we would again have a similar entrance to the parking lot, a similar children's playground, a similar restroom facility, and then it sort of loops around, does another loop by the detention. So that's the public amenity. In addition to obviously the significant variables in the purchase price of the land, which are all, I would think, pretty significant economic benefits. That's the public amenity.
I just want to follow up that area you just explained there. Wasn't that part of like a Superfund site at one point?
No, that's all that way.
Yeah.
This is right. This
This
is
will
sort of
be
along
running parallel to the
creek.
Yeah, the creek, back on creek.
Okay, so I guess I'm just.
Part of, again, Dan Durrell, part of our process is we bring in our environmental specialist, Gary Brown, that was his name, And he sits down, he's going to answer every question on the environmental side of the equation for everyone. Just so happens that I'm an environmental scientist as well. So it's important to note the environmental contamination is basically non-existent in town of Lopatcong. There is what is known as an RAO, which what used to be known as an NFA. An NFA, no further action, issued by NJDEP. Like all institutions, they like to change acronyms just to keep us reading. Well, no further action has been issued. I have it in my possession. There is no further action left in Lopatcong. There are some ongoing monitoring wells. As you drive down and look into the cornfield, you see a little pipe coming out. That is a monitoring well to monitor a oil spill that was spilled in 1963. I wasn't even alive yet. So apologize for that. My point is Ingersoll Rand, we are purchasing this particular property from Ingersoll Rand. We have Ingersoll Rand, through our environmental engineer, has already just submitted within the past 72 hours a closure document to close those monitoring wells. There's no further action. What is now known as an RAO, which means a remedial action outcome. They did the remedial action. The outcome is clean bill of health. To your point, sir, this was never a Superfund site. Okay, this is a Circular 2020 site. What that means was this is an industrial site that didn't have all that bad stuff in the dirt, in the water, anywhere. What that means is we are going through the process with Ingersoll Rand, who is the responsible party, and the main area. Excuse me, Joe. I promised Joe I wasn't going to say anything tonight. Okay, we have Lopatcong. We have, I'm sorry if you can't see, Mr. I'll kind of go this way. Do me a favor, pass out the handouts to this folks so that they can have it. So what we have here is 3 sites. The site where my fist is, where most of the buildings are, is where the most main of the contamination is. What that is, what the contamination is what is known as foundry sands. So this, I'm sure I don't need to tell you, I'm sure there's some people who worked at this facility, but what this facility did was build bronze pumps, the size of this building. Magnificent pumps. There's still some sitting there. So in order through the process of building these pumps, you have to put in sand in the molds. You have to cut things off, put things there, put things there. So the contamination is bronze pieces. The other contamination is this area down here. Okay, and I wasn't around then, but some most might be. A train came in here, and this is where they stored the pumps. So when the United States Navy came to get these pumps, they wanted them shiny. They wanted them beautiful, because we all paid for them. So what happened was a couple young fellas, or maybe gals, I don't know, went out there with some solvent, cleaned them all off, left them there. The train came in because this was built pre-trucking. It was built in 1901. The trains came in, picked them up on these, and put them on the train, and off they went. Well, the contamination from that is the rain. We're talking about 2 generations of Windex, okay, for the record. So we have an issue right here that we need to clean up. We have issues right here that we are currently cleaning up. The old landfills, they were not municipal landfills. They were the foundry sands. They were holes where they went through the process and they dumped the foundry sands on. So they're not a municipal landfill like you would think, like the old Indian in the commercial with the eye tier and all that. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the process of making these pumps. There was this byproduct of sand that had little tiny bits of bronze about the size of my thumb. And there's about 4 billion of them. And they put them in this hole. We have a no further action from the DEP on one of them, and we're getting issued a no further action from DEP on the second one as we speak. So we're all clear. The contamination up here is minimal. The time to do this is minimal. There have been several people who have come in here that have tried to figure this entire development out, and they've always got stuck in two spots. Spot number one is the solvent area. Spot number two is the core campus. What we call, this is a 63-acre core campus. The buildings have this deep, in some spots, foundation. Okay, some of the spots are 32 inches thick. We are proposing to not disturb this core campus. We're building right over top of it. That's our cap. Lopatcong Township has no issues. Your issues are gone. Ingersoll Rand is taking care of them. We need to do a few things. And what we need to do is we need to have the traffic come in for this direction. Because to answer your question or statement, sir, we are having a very in-depth traffic study done. Mazer is a very in-depth engineering firm. Paul Sturbins is a world-class, and he's going to make us prove every single thing you said. And we're happy to do it. So we need to come in this direction. It's also important to note, sir, Mr. Sturbins, we are also going to be delivering you a general development plan. So as part of this. So that's where we're at. There is not all this contamination. There is not green monsters coming out of the ground. There is not all of this problem. So what we're proposing to do is to work together to get this project off the ground, and you guys are building number one. So, thank you.
Mr. Brown, with all due respect to you as a former councilman in the township, I'm glad you came here tonight. But you're also a professional.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that nobody up there knew you were coming tonight. Somebody up there knew you were coming. Because you, as a professional businessman, do not bring these kind of professionals out here to make this presentation all day. No. Somebody up there knew you were coming.
Hey.
Mr. Imhoff.
Just a follow-up question about this, the contamination in the first state. And to the rear of the core campus, there's a detention hall, which historically, the way they cleaned that out, everybody falls, they open the gates. Went down into the back concrete on Lot Street and killed the fish. As a true state. That detention hall, I stay there. Can you tell us something more? Complete remediation was going to happen. And also, does Ingersoll have a lifetime responsibility for the contamination in that property? Your responsibility once.
I'm going to step up here so everybody can hear. So, responsible party is exactly that, a responsible party. It is, they did it. They know they did it. Agreements in place, EP, ETA. So what they're asking me is about two ponds. There was two ponds there, and they were called inverse ponds. And basically, what you need to do when you're doing a process, you need to have something when you have a contaminant in the water, right? The water's flowing out. Well, you need something to settle that out. Like if you pick up a dirty thing of water, you see stuff floating in that. That's called a total dissolved or total non-dissolved solid. So what this was through the process, there was solids in the water, just like in a dirty drinking glass. It goes into those ponds, and then they settle. The water goes out, absolutely killed fish. Well, guess what? I believe it was in 2008 those ponds were dug up, filled in, no further action, and no longer exist. Because the process that was used there doesn't exist, including the building that's pumping out the water. So that's answer number one. Number two, is River 20, I could get into this a lot, but I'm not going to bore you with this. But the long and the short of it is there was this law that was passed, and it has fancy initials, but it's 2020. The reason why it's 2020 is the year 2020. It has to be cleaned up. Okay? And I'm bringing it to this level just for ease of this conversation. By 2016, May 2016, they have to have all of what is known as a remedial action work plan in place. 2016 is not my purview. I am a businessman, sir, and we are professionals. I don't travel with these as chauffeurs. Okay? So this RICRA 2020 plan, all of these properties all around New Jersey, and we're all going to be lovely to hear this, we're the most contaminated state in the United States per area. So we're all contaminated some way or another. The RICRA 2020 program says by X date you have to have an agreement to start the process, by Y date it has to be done. So there is a program in place, and we're working with Angel Rand right now to make this happen. And we're going to have our remedial action work plans in place prior to the end of the year, so 6 to 7 months in front. And we're going to have our environmental professionals starting the process in February of 2015. So we are paying to clean up Ingersoll Rand where they're not doing it fast enough. And we're saying, let's go, boys and girls, let's go. And it is now a cooperative agreement. So we are all doing this together. We are all pulling the same rope on the same direction at the same time. You're welcome.
Yeah, we actually have to have another special meeting on August 27th for another item that we haven't gotten to. Has to do with our cable contract. We were starting that meeting at 6. So if you guys are available, that would probably be a really good time to come back, because then it would only be those 2 items on the agenda.
Yep. And the ample time to let the public know that you're coming for a presentation.
Here on October 27th.
We appreciate you coming out tonight. It's just, we really need the residents would trust us.
Yes, we do.
Now we understand. And we'll see you on October 27th.
Yes, I apologize for you waiting here. I didn't know. August.
We'll see you on August 27th.
It'll be October before you know it, but August 27th.
I was going to say, I apologize for you waiting out there. I didn't know you were here for a presentation. I didn't know who you were at all sitting out there. So, absolutely, I agree. We do need to get the public here, and everybody needs to know about it, and everybody needs to be here for questions. I'm kind of glad you're here because you answered a lot of questions. So for the next hearing, there may not be as
There'll be other
many,
residents.
right, there'll be other residents, absolutely. But it's actually can be, if these folks had enough questions answered, they would need to come back.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it was nice to finally meet you. Right, Edith?
Should we leave the boards for the public to see over?
Yeah, sure.
We'll leave the boards.
Okay.
It was a pleasure to finally meet you. Having been reading about you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
So are we tabling this resolution? I don't think I have it in my packet either.
What's that?
No, we don't, it's not in the packet, I don't believe.
Put it there. Somebody put it there.
I'm not sure.
I didn't put it in there.
Lavery sent it to me. I asked him to review what they had, what they gave. He sent it to me, and I sent it to you.
I don't have any paperwork.
No paperwork?
I'll check my records.
We definitely need to table it then. And at least we can put it on the agenda for the 27th if we feel we're comfortable. As long as we could get some documentation well ahead of time so we can take a look at it.
Okay.
Make a motion to table item
Motion.
number 6.
Motion.
Second. Is there a second? Second, Maureen. All roll call then. Councilman Delcara,
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay. Yes. Councilwoman Schneider.
Yes.
Council President Chesley.
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes. All right. Maybe we should, I mean, we're never gonna get through this. Yeah.
We only have two more items and the rest is the consent agenda.
Yeah, but then we've got reports. Proclamation on the mayor's wellness campaign. Proclamation is in the packets. Many townships are doing this. It's a state initiative. They've been bugging us to do it, so we joined it. It's still in its infancy. We're going to be doing, things that help people with their health, to have walks, to have, yoga, exercises, to include the senior citizens. I think there's 4 groups that will benefit from this. One are employees of the municipality, that's a group. And then another group is seniors, another group is youth, and then the other last group is kind of everybody else. Like I said, we're just starting with it. We've got a coordinator who's a nurse, and she's looking into it. We'll have information available at Lopatcong Day, and there'll be a table set up for it. There'll also be a mayor's walk sometime in the afternoon of
5:30.
5:30 on Lopatcong Day. So, beginning of something, we hope it'll be very beneficial to the community. Once we get it rolling, the nurse that we have, she's familiar with these type of things, and she feels that we can get significant funding, and it'll probably pay for itself, and that's what we're hoping to do. So,
Who is that? Who is that? What's her name? So we have a coordinator?
The coordinator.
her name is Nurse Franziak.
Franziak, yeah.
Is she a resident?
Yes, and she's a friend of Laura's.
I don't know. I know. She's an RN. I know she's an RN.
So she's a friend of Laura's, right?
Well, through email. I just met her the other night. I consider her a friend now.
She's a very
Very nice lady.
person.
Mhm.
And there'll be other people added to it, like she'll put together a committee to help her do all the stuff she's got to do. So that's what is going on with the mayor's wellness campaign. Next item, hire a temporary employee in the finance office / shared service opportunity.
Yes. In the past couple of meetings, excuse me, we talked about hiring a permanent part-time employee for the finance office. We were going to put out an ad on our website, and we couldn't come up with a title, and we were trying to figure out, based on civil service laws, what we needed to use as a title for this position. In the interim, Lopatcong contacted me, and they're very interested in doing a shared service for this position 3 ways with 3 townships in total. We only needed a part-time person, so I think this may work out, and we're in the middle of trying to negotiate that. Lou and I will meet with Lopatcong and get some numbers and some hours and try to figure out what it is the shared service could become. In the meantime, we talked about last month that the finance office is in need of assistance. We all agreed to that we needed to hire somebody in there, and instead of hiring a permanent part-time employee, I would like to hire a temporary employee, and this way, if the shared service is a success, it would be a clean break, and if it's not a success, we have the opportunity still to hire someone else. It would be the same terms as we agreed upon for the permanent part-time employee. It would be the same hourly rate and the same amount of hours. I'm asking for this because we do have some issues. There has been a lot of work that needed to be done for in the finance office that our CFO needed to do. She's been very busy doing that. She took the job as a 32-hour work week with a full-time finance clerk in the office. Those were the terms that she was hired upon. And now there is no clerk in the office whatsoever. I'm not proposing we would put another full-time person, but definitely a part-time person is needed. if you have any questions about that, I would welcome them, but we did all agree to hire a permanent person. This is a better solution right now, and we did talk last month about continuing our search for shared services, and this is a start. It probably will take a couple of months to get all the details and to see if it's going to work for Lopatcong. But in the meantime, we do need an immediate remedy for our CFO, and I think this is the best route to go, is to hire a temp to get this going.
We're gonna advertise for the temp, I mean.
Yeah, can advertise for the temp.
So why, I mean, we agreed on a title. I think it was just you that didn't agree. Like Civil Service agreed with us, Rich Winter agreed with us. Like we had a title.
Right,
I don't know what happened after that. I don't understand why there's a fear of civil service, civil service town.
Right, Phillipsburg is also in the works of hiring the same person in their township, also civil service, and they have a different job title.
Yeah, and they made a mistake. I called Rich today. He's calling them tomorrow.
I called Rich 2 weeks ago, and he said, oh, no, they're not doing it incorrectly. You know, if they are, I don't know anything about it. And he never contacted me. He knew that they were putting it out there, and he never contacted me to say it was incorrect.
Just so everybody knows, I called civil service, and I asked them, I said, do we need to have a civil service? And they said, for any employee that is on the payroll of Lopatcong, they must have a civil service title.
Absolutely, which is why I don't want to hire a permanent employee right now. I'd rather hire a temporary employee.
Even temporary employees, I asked them about that too. Seasonals, they say they must be in the system with one of their titles.
That's fine, we can have them in the system with their titles, but they'd be on a 1099. No benefits, we wouldn't have to do anything. It would be a quick remedy to the situation.
Another thing is, I know we wanted to hire someone with some flexibility because we're not sure what hours we have. If this person's working in 3 towns, I mean, I can't imagine that we're going to be able to call upon them to adjust their hours. And also, we wanted to give the opportunity to the Lopatcong residents first. And I know Lopatcong residents have already been coming in here and inquiring about the job.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if she's working in 3 towns, how many hours does she total? And is she now going to be getting benefits?
You know, what we agreed upon here was 20 hours a week. We haven't ironed out all the details. Like I said, it's all in new stages, but it could be doable because one town they only need her for 1 day, and one town they only need her for 2 days. You know, or we can share it whether it's she's here for 4 days, 2 hours a day, or, you know, however that works out. But it's all in the early stages, and it's a possibility. And if we could have a possible shared service and save a little bit of money and have some flexibility.
How do we save money on a part-time?
Because we'd be paying a full part-time salary with a permanent part-time. If we shared this person for 3 different townships, it could be a money-saving opportunity. Because we're splitting one small salary with 3 different townships.
But we would pay our person the same amount. I don't think POHAT's going to pay part of our share. If we're going to pay $12 an hour for 20 hours, we're still going to have to pay that regardless if we're sharing. I mean, the sharing helps when you have benefits. And I'm worried that what happens if a part-timer between 2 towns has enough hours to get them benefits? Do we have to give them benefits?
Well, she would be a full-time employee with Lopatcong. And we would share her 3 ways.
With who else?
Then we have to contribute to their benefits. That's the definition of sharing. Why would we do that?
Why would POHAT do that and not make us pay?
Right.
And who's the other town?
Greenwich. We don't have numbers, we don't have hours, we don't know anything. It's the start. But it's a shared service opportunity that we should explore. We don't have anyone coming our way. And this would be a great opportunity to just explore it and figure it out. And we do need someone immediately. So I'm proposing a temp instead of hiring the person outright until we can figure out whether this would work or not work.
And what temp are we hiring? This person?
I will put it out on the website, and wherever we will have people coming in, we'll put a date on there. We'll interview people, and we'll pick the best person.
Well, I'd like this to be advertised more than just on our website. I want it advertised so we can get a full,
Last month, we all agreed to put it on the website so it would cut costs, and we would save costs, and that there would be plenty of people, and as Louis just said, plenty of people did already come into the municipal building. So I think there's plenty of interest in Lopatcong.
I mean, At this point, it's August. There's a really good chance, which I'm sure when Maureen gets to her report, that the LAA is leaving. They'll be taking they'll be handling their bank account themselves. We'll be losing a lot there. We have Phyllis helping now. Previously, our full-time CFO, full-time was 35 hours, so there's a 3-hour difference. And I know we had a full-timer in there. One of the things, too, is we switched banks to help with facilitating process, both at the tax collector level and in the CFO level. Changing banks, we are losing some of the fee reimbursements we're getting. It could be several $1,000s plus some interest. If we are going to do that, then I mean, we have the deputy clerk helping right now. I don't know if we need to step back and kind of reevaluate everything too before we bring another person on board.
Well, we don't have the deputy clerk helping as a permanent solution. And when that was presented, it was a very difficult thing to accomplish, to get someone in the municipal building to help, because everybody's busy. And it's not a thing that happens all, it's scattered. It's sometimes here, sometimes there. Sometimes, she's too busy, she can't help. So, it's, you're saying, okay, so the LAA is leaving. We don't know how long that's going to be till the LAA leaves, right? It's still 2 months. And that will alleviate stuff, but there is also a lot that needs to be fixed in that office. There's a lot that needs to be fixed. And the past employees in that, office did have a 35-hour work week for the CFO and a 35-hour work week for the clerk. And, there's stepping into this and having a new budget process and new things that were given to CFOs this year, trying to find ways to cut costs for the building. I have a list of things that, I don't know if you know all of the things that Lorena's been doing, and I know you probably do because she sends us updates a lot about what she's doing, what she's trying to do, and how much she's trying to find some ways to save. She had to start with a user-friendly budget this year. That's a brand new budget process. That it was, I don't know, 30, 40 pages that you had to look through to figure out if you were doing it correctly.
And I believe the prior CFO actually started on left it behind too. It's
She did
everybody's
not,
job.
she
We
didn't,
just have to.
she did not start it. She did not start it.
Right.
Also, Lorraine has also took on the responsibility of doing our budget, which is what the CFO should be doing. Instead of paying our auditor $6,000 a year to prepare our budget, which I didn't know about, Lorraine is taking that on because that's what the CFO should be doing. And she is decreasing our costs because of that. It may not be the entire $6,000, but it's definitely a huge savings. The general ledger was never proofed each month. It's now being proofed. There was no postings of collateral entries to be in sync with our tax and our sewer levies. Now they are being entered. The grant funds are in a disarray. She's been in there trying to dig through things, trying to figure out what happened. The chart of accounts has not been updated since 1997 in our finance office. That's been done now. Baseline budgeting is the old way of doing our budget. Zero-based budgeting is our new way. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort to have the budget owners come in and make them understand what it is to own a budget because they've never done it before. It's a long process, and it continues to be a long process because she did it mid-year. She had a short time to try and do that. There's been controls and things put into place. For instance, she's put into place to never hand over a blank check to anyone in this building as an employee, as an elected official. She's putting a PO process in place. She put a PO process in place. She's got...
What about the requisitions? Is that in place now?
There was always a purchase order.
Yeah, I thought so.
There's a purchase order, but...
And a requisition.
Yeah. I think
Yes.
really we shouldn't be talking about performance anyways without raising
It's not
the CFO.
performance,
It is, you're talking about
it's
performance.
responsibilities of a CFO's office. It is not her performance, it's what is supposed to be done in a CFO's office.
I think some of the the issues too, there's some things that are not being done in the office, and we have members of the public that even know about some of the issues that we're having, some of the problems that we're having. Again, can't discuss workplace,
But you discuss it all the time, that bills aren't being paid by the LAA.
Yeah, the bills have to be paid by our
Liaison.
CFO,
Yeah.
not the LAA.
Right, but you've brought up the struggles that the LAA has had about their bills not being processed.
Yes, by this.
Yes, she's the LAA liaison, that's her job.
You did already, you've discussed it multiple times in this
And that's her
room.
job, to support the LAA.
And it's not the LAA's fault.
Wonder why
What
they
are you
wanna
talking
leave.
about?
Okay, well, I'm not blaming fault, what I'm telling you is, these are the things that Lorraine, that the CFO should be doing. These are the things that are being done.
Right, and I think there's things that are not being done, and I think before we bring in another employee into this office, the CFO's office, I think we need to take a snapshot in time. I think we need to find out where we are, what we're at. I understand there's been a lot of good things done, but I think there's a lot of things that we've fallen behind on. A lot of things that are the basic things that we need to have addressed. A lot of things that members of this town know about. The word is getting out there that there's some issues. So I think before we bring in anyone else, I think we need to take a step back and examine that office. Maybe we need to write our CFO and go over some details.
Well,
Some answers to some questions that everyone seems to know about in this town.
right, because you brought it up in a meeting.
As council members, we need to keep this town in order, and we've got some problems.
Right.
So, I think before you go bringing in anyone else and muddying up the water anywhere, I think we need to raise our CFO, we need to take a snapshot, we need to find out where we're at.
Let's see, muddying up the waters. Last year, when I questioned,
About last year, I'm talking
yeah, well, you know what, I'm not finished with my conversation, and this is my item, and I would appreciate if you let me continue.
Go ahead, Donna, please continue.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you are.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes, you can.
Doesn't Phyllis help out in the interim with the office? Okay, that's all I want to confirm.
Yes, I already said that, but it's not a consistent process. And, we've had employees in the building also help out our former CFO. So, when we say that, that the former CFO is doing the job in 35 hours, she also had a full-time assistant, and she also had other employees helping.
Have a full-time assistant for
That's correct, but she had other people in the municipal building helping her.
Yeah, just like Phyllis would be helping our CFO.
Right, but when we brought this up, and I can't say too much because, I don't want anything to get out that shouldn't be out, or however you want to put it. But when this was proposed, there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of pushback, and a lot of things were said. So it's not an easy fix as you think it is. And I'm really finding it hard to believe that last month, the three of you sat up here and said, she needs the help, she needs the help, she needs the help. We got to get somebody in there. We got to get somebody in there. Now you've totally changed your tune. You're saying that things are falling to the wayside and that she needs to be rice noticed to do this. Yet all last month you championed that she needed someone in here, and she does need someone in here. And it's not muddying any waters.
We're not saying she does or she doesn't. We're saying we want to take a snapshot in time, like Maureen said, and investigate things. I didn't know how much money we were losing in interest when we did that. I now know. These are things that we have to look into. We owe it to the taxpayers to take a step back and look into it before we bring somebody on and spend more money.
Well, it's budgeted in our budget, and everybody, and you said yes to the budget, Lou, you said yes to the budget, Maureen, to hire a part-time employee. And you know what, last year when I questioned our professionals, my response from you guys was always, I defer to the professionals. I defer to the professionals. That was my response from you guys every time I questioned any of our professionals. Now you have your professional that you hired, that all of you hired, sitting here with, asking you for help, telling us she needs the help.
And that's fine, I totally understand that. My take on this is that I think it isn't detrimental that we have to hire someone tonight, okay? It's not a matter that, the question is not if we're going to hire it, it's when we're going to hire this person. And that's really what the question is. So I think that, to move on with the meeting, it is 11 o'clock, is that, we don't have to make that decision tonight to hire someone. So if there's some questions here that needs to be answered, I think that needs to be looked into, fine, okay? Let's find out some more information. And then we could come back and discuss hiring someone. So the question is when we're going to hire this person. That's all.
I didn't say.
Too about who we're hiring, because is this a shared service agreement, or are you hiring a temp, or what was even the proposal? So we were going to hire a temp and then enter into a shared service agreement with somebody else? Then what's the point of training somebody?
Well, I
if you're
guess
just
we
gonna let
can
them go?
discuss that when the time comes.
Well-
And I understand what Donna's saying. We need a temp, someone temporary for the time being. And then, look into a shared service after that, after the meetings conclude with Powhatcon. But in the interim, having said all this, again, it isn't detrimental. Phyllis is helping out, and I think Beth will help out, in the interim. Until we find
So
some.
Beth's been reviewing a lot of
If you,
POs.
I don't know. I'm not in the office there, so I'm just.
You're saying something, Lou, that you can't guarantee and you can't back up, and you shouldn't be offering employees to do extra work without asking them first, without rights noticing them. That should not be discussed right now.
Well, do I have to make a motion for rights notice?
And what you know what I don't understand? You guys have championed this for the past couple of months. Not one of you have gone in to sit with her and ask her what her struggles are, what the problems are in there, what has she done, what needs to be fixed. No, what you're doing now.
I'm not going in unless I rights notice her. I'm not going to ask about anybody's performance in this building unless they're rights noticed. I am not putting any liability on the township.
No one's asking you to do that.
You just asked me to do that. Why aren't you going in there? We're not, no.
Why aren't you going in there and asking her what her struggles are? I don't understand that. You can't go in there and talk to her and say, how's it going? What's going on in here? What needs to be done? What's not being done? What's working? What's not working? That's not something you could do, so we have to waste more taxpayer money to rights notice, get attorneys involved, because you guys won't sit down with her.
Personally sued.
You're not going to get personally sued.
So what do you do here? Do I have to make a motion?
You know what, even if I talked to your professionals that you hired, your auditors, and they also agreed that she needs the help. And they're the ones that spend the most time with her.
That's fine. I am not going to share a part-timer. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not sharing a part-timer.
You know what we should do as an interim measure? I think we should split Phyllis 50-50 between the clerk and the CFO. In this way, we get the work done and the township operates. I don't know of any others, clerks that have.
I recommend that.
I think we have to rights her too.
Why would I have to raise? I'm not making a proposal.
You can't just change someone's much help as we possibly can at this point. And I think that then you'll have another offer suffering and not getting the work done.
Well, and that's the, it's not consistent help. It's not consistent help in there. And
That's it, whenever Lorraine gives you something. Temporary help, that's what it is. Temporary.
it's not consistent temporary help. There's a big difference between not consistent temporary help and someone who's there dedicated to doing that.
It's 11:10, and you're not even.
It's not public comment, actually.
Do we have to vote on rights noticing?
We're not rights notice.
Yes, all right, I'm making a motion to rights notice our CFO so we can get some questions on it.
Yep.
Sorry, we just said it wasn't
It's not public comment.
Right?
Yeah, now it is for them.
Warren, you made a motion. Can I get
A second.
Okay, you got a second? And can I roll call that, Mayor?
Sure.
Councilman Belcarro,
I say that it would be good that we can collectively ask questions and we all hear from the same source. So we're on the same page, yes.
Councilwoman McKay, yes. Councilwoman Schneider.
No, there's reasons for spending money. There's reasons for spending money. I didn't ask for any public comment, please.
We just had a vote here, yes or no? She voted
yes.
And Mayor
So
McKay.
rude.
No, I don't think it's needed.
You think I can have a list of questions prior to the interrogation so I can be ready?
Yeah.
You guys could just email me what you're looking for. I'd be happy to have
Next. Well, I think we should just end this meeting and start again another day. It's getting too late. People are
Well, your
getting very
consent
nasty.
agenda, you only have to move, but, and you have to have.
Hmm?
You have to have public comment.
You can skip the council reports to the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Consent agenda.
Mayor, I would just ask, as we discussed in executive session, number 18 either be pulled out separately and done, or I can just, before you start, just ask that it's to approve the mayor to execute the property damage release. That's the one drafted by my office, and it's conditioned upon Aqua removing the asbestos pipe from DPW.
Yes.
So you can do it all as a consent agenda, just so we're clear that that's what that motion is for.
Okay. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes. Councilman Belcarro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCabe? Yes. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chesley?
Yes.
Mayor McKay?
Yes. I think we have to do bills too, right?
I have one
Just
thing
hang on
too.
1 minute. Number 3, I'm going to give you all 2 copies of the affidavit that you have, at the very least, review the comments and recommendations section of the annual audit. You have to sign both copies just once. Doesn't matter where you sign it on any time.
And that's not that you agreed with the audit, it's that you received it.
Katrina, I have one thing that doubt anybody wants to go back into executive, and I don't think we need to do the full thing that we were going to discuss, but I do need to make a motion to authorize whoever to obtain appraisals for the property that we need for the road improvements for the high school. Yeah, need a motion.
A second.
Well, we're not there. Why are we going back to that?
Something has to be, we can't let this go. If we do, we're going to slow down the high school.
Are we good?
I made a motion, we're not going to go back into executive.
I didn't get to that meeting because when they called here to tell me about it, I didn't get the message. So you went to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would just recommend you on that note, and we do need to do something on the matter, but I would recommend that the motion be amended to indicate that we would go out and get quotes
Okay.
to do appraisals, and then we can put that on the agenda on the 27th of August.
That'd be
We
great.
can make sure there's funds in place.
Okay.
All that other stuff, so.
Now, it was my understanding from looking at the minutes of that meeting that it was a decision made not to pursue condemnation.
We're not discussing that.
We're not
That would be an
discussing that.
executive
Oh.
session. This was whether you do condemnation or negotiate with the private property owners. The first step for every process is to get an appraisal of the property.
And who's paying for the appraisals?
Right now, you're just getting quotes for them. See what they would cost. I assume the town would be paying for them.
Mhm.
Not the school district?
The school district will be contributing money, but we do have to realize too that we are expected to contribute some money to this. In order to have this happen, the school district's contributing money, the DOT is giving us $300,000, and they happen to be giving the grant to Lopatcong, so we do need to contribute some money. So is Phillipsburg, and so is the county, to make this happen.
At this point, you are not authorizing spending any money. You're merely getting the quotes for what it would cost, and it would, in the next meeting, we could have the philosophical decision about spending the monty.
Katrina and I will coordinate to get the
Okay.
quotes between now and the 27th.
I know, we have another open item on the executive session. Go with it.
We're not going into.
There was an
You just went
amended
into
motion.
I didn't go into
There was an
executive.
amended motion just made.
Yes.
I'll second it. Okay. Should I roll call that, please, and then finish that before we move on to another item? Yes. Councilman Belcarro?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay? Yes. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chesley?
Yes.
Mayor McKay?
Yes. All right, now we have the other issue that's lingering here is the color issue.
That's an executive
No,
session.
because we're not in executive.
So is
We're,
the other.
Well, she talked
I
about the
pulled it
one
out.
piece that wasn't.
That wasn't, it does
All the
need to be an
condemnation discussion
executive.
We did not have. If you wish to go into executive session, you can
make a motion to go into executive session to discuss that matter.
Well, I mean, this matter has been lingering for 2
You
weeks.
I
have to
recommend we
finish
only
the
discuss
regular
in
agenda.
executive.
We have to do public comment.
It's paid bills.
Pay bills?
Before we go into public comment and paying bills, speaking of paying bills, I was, I heard that we have an employee hotline. I wasn't sure what that was, so I started looking into it. And it's actually not an employee hotline, it's an employee assistance program. It's a phone number that you call for some assistance, and they can direct you to professionals in your area that can help you. When I pulled the invoice, it came out that there are 29 employees that are eligible for this employee assistance program. I'm not quite sure if all 29 of these people, whoever they are, know that there's this program. However, I did look into the health benefits for the state, and they offer the same exact thing that this company, Quantum Health Solutions in Palm Coast, Florida, offers. We pay currently $1,000 a year for this service. I think it's redundant, and I would like to, we just paid them up quarterly. It's $256. We've just paid them through May, June, and July. I would like to end the services for that, since it is something that's redundant. So I guess,
Did you say that offers and services are health benefits?
yes,
program?
it's the same thing. There's a number on there, and they also cover, you can call them for anything 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they will also direct you to professionals in your area.
I would just recommend that you let me get in touch with the people from the EAP program. There could be some employees that are using that right now.
Yes, they're sending me the contract, actually. So, I can hold up till next meeting, we can cancel it next meeting, and we can look at the contract. I don't even know that we have 29 employees actually in the municipal building currently.
You have 14 police officers right there. And then you have
Right,
you have
but
everything.
I'd like to see if these people actually knew that this program
This
existed.
program's been in place for a number of years.
Yes, since 2009.
Yeah, so, people have used it on and off over that period of time.
Yeah, but they could go through their health benefits and do the same thing.
Well, it was
Did you get
something
more
that
information
the
on
past
that?
Administration approved.
Mhm.
So it's been an ongoing benefit to the township employees.
Mhm. Yep.
Yes.
I'm sure it's been used.
Yeah, it has, not quite,
Feel like calling.
not quite that often, but, they are giving me an idea of how many times it's been used, and they're also sending me the contract. So we'll take a look at that, and, the employee benefits also offer that, so it would be a shame to keep paying something that we already received the service.
That wasn't on the agenda.
Well, it was gonna be in my council reports under finance.
Oh, it's not to council reports tonight, so you're bringing in, it's 11:15. We're trying to take care of this agenda that we have for tonight already.
What's already been taken care of, we're doing paying bills.
We're not taking away a benefit that employees could use in this town because of some minute cost.
A cost is a cost is a cost.
Yeah, it's gonna save what?
$1,000 a year.
A year. Okay, I don't want.
Right, it might be more than 29, we might be underpaying.
Requirement to,
Right, but
Yeah,
these,
you're
I don't
right.
think
It
these
might be-
folks know it even exists, and,
Doesn't mean we take it away because they don't know
Yeah.
it exists. Don't take away a benefit like that because someone doesn't know.
I need more information on it.
it's already offered in your insurance
Trying to
plan.
track. It has to be researched.
It's already offered, I just said that, I said, we'll look at the
Okay.
contract and we'll do it next month, but I wanted to make you aware of it, because we're not doing council reports, and I feel it's important. Because an expenditure is an expenditure.
Who knows?
What?
I'm lost too.
We're actually through
Yeah, keep
everything.
bouncing
We're
around.
to announcements.
We did those already. We did a consent agenda.
We did those.
Yeah, we approved.
Yeah, they were all done
We're
as
good.
one. Yeah, but those 24 items were done as one vote.
Yeah, if we're on the topic of, looking to save some money, if I may,
Wait, didn't they just yell at me for doing this?
Yeah.
Well, you did it, so now.
And this is-
Oh, funny.
This is a little bigger, okay? So it might be worthwhile to think about. And this is
Yeah.
concerning our lawsuit against P-Bird, $1.2 million, okay? And I know at the last month that took the recommendation from Inglesino to go out and hire a rate expert. Okay, after considering this, where we are, because who knows how long this is going to drag on. What I can say right now, as far as June, okay, the bill to Inglesino that we paid so far, including tonight, we're up to $46,000 already. So now, we have to make a decision here, and I'm looking at an alternate plan here, an alternative.
Okay.
Maybe we should go to something, maybe right to an arbitrator. Let's cut through the chase.
I should probably talk about that in executive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's litigation.
All right, I'm just, hey,
I hear
I mean, who knows, I mean,
Put it on the
Put it on
agenda.
an executive agenda to talk about alternative methodologies that we can use to
Well,
try
we're
to
gonna
settle
have
this.
to do something
Litigation, you
because-
can talk about, yeah, okay. Put it on this
We
litigation.
have almost no money left in the legal.
Because if it's gonna save us money, we definitely need to,
yeah.
yeah.
You know,
It
so we're not
should
gonna be
save
able to
thousands.
pay them anymore. Only like 7,000 left in the legal budget?
$7,407.
Yeah.
I don't think we can not pay our bills.
We have no
And
budget.
it's sewer, Inglesino
That's
sewer.
because somebody cut 50,000 out of it. I don't wanna.
That was capital. Can't use capital
Alright.
for that.
That's all.
It is illegal to use capital to pay your bills.
List of bills. You have to do the approval of bills. All right, if you go to the last page, page 4 on the approval of bills. There are the group of bills that aggregates $3,273,593.67. And we would have to make a motion that we approve payment of bills that aggregate that amount.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, I'll roll call that. Councilman Del Piero?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay? Yes. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chesley?
Yes.
Mayor McKay?
Yes. Now, there are 2 bills that I can in good conscience approve.
We just approved them.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, you
They're
did.
not in the total. And these bills are for 2 attorneys that did work on the appeal part of the,
Asphalt.
pardon me?
Asphalt.
Yeah. I'm getting tired of the asphalt plan. And I said at the last meeting, I think it was, that I don't remember that being approved by the council. So I personally don't think I could approve those bills, and I can't vote to approve those bills. You can do what you want, but I can't do that because we didn't approve the attorneys to go forth, in my opinion, and continue with these appeals. And it's just a never-ending process, it seems. And, these 2 bills alone are $28,000. So you're at liberty, if you wish, to make a motion to approve these 2 bills, and you have the votes, and you will be able to vote for them. That's what you want to do.
Well, you're a mayor, you're a leader. We'll follow your lead.
Well, I'm laying it off to you.
Well, I'd like to say that I don't want to fund anything that has to do with the asphalt hearings, the asphalt appeals, anything that has to do with the asphalt. I don't want to fund it because as of right now, the township has already won 2 appeals. To go for a third, there's really not a need. We've already won 2, and there's no consequences to the township if we do not pursue this appeal. When I asked about it from legal, their response to me was, well, it could impact you if another company wants to come in and build something in the township. If they see that you didn't uphold your ordinance, they may not want to come. We've already upheld our ordinance twice, and we've paid twice to fight appeals, and we've actually won both. So to continue on with this, I think is just a waste of taxpayer money, a waste of time to continue on to pay these legal bills.
especially if we do, we have $7,000.
So we could afford it anyhow.
Well, yeah, but we shouldn't even have the bills because it wasn't even approved to pay.
To the work already, that.
We didn't tell them to do the work.
I don't know that you know that for sure.
No, I don't know that we know that for sure, and this is
I
litigation.
didn't vote on any of it.
We voted on all the bills.
We need to find out.
Who were the two then, who were the two?
John Carbone
Carbone
and Lavery.
And the total is how much?
$12,140.80 for Carbone, $15,786.81 for Lavery.
And these bills are in large part due to this appeal. It's hard to break them apart because they.
I think Carbone's was the original litigation and part of the.
This bill is for you for a year.
They were
and a half or
both,
something.
because they went back a year.
But the CFO called the office and he said it was all.
No, that's
No,
not
it's
correct. He corrected her on that.
Part of, but you can't break it apart because I can't read the dates.
He
Have
sent
they
a new
done the work
invoice,
already?
didn't he?
So you
He did
break it
supply an
apart.
additional one, yes.
Okay, they've done the work, correct?
He did the work. Gary Van Fleet signed off on Jack Carbone's bill,
Okay.
yes, as the planning board chairman who hired him to do the work.
Right. So we have to pay, they've done the
You
work.
have to pay them.
Right.
What happens if we don't pay our bills?
You're gonna take it to court.
They're gonna take it to court?
And of course,
Oh, yeah, right, that's right, they're law firms. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that. That's ridiculous.
Well, they can pay it. I mean, I just said, I don't want to bring it up.
Well, it's something that has to be paid.
It's been authorized and it has to be paid, so if somebody wants to make a
I
motion.
want to make sure that that's the case before I say yes to that. I would also like to, go ahead.
Make a motion to pay the bill.
Bills.
Bills, there's two.
Bills.
2 bills.
As shown on your bill, a second.
Yeah, fine.
Maureen seconded. And I will roll call.
I know you can't not pay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Councilman Belcarra?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay? Yes. Councilwoman Schneider?
No, not until I find out what's going on with those.
President Chesler?
I'm going to pay the bills because we've been paying them all along. The only reason why they don't want to pay them anymore is because somebody called them out for it. So yes, because they don't want this township to get sued for not paying our bills.
Mayor McKay?
Then there's another small group of checks. They'll process in accordance with 1506, ordinance 1506. That allows us to pay small bills between meetings. The list is before you: Home Depot, James Marinelli, Joanne McGann, New Jersey Division of Alcohol and Petty Cash. They fall under $305. Take a motion to approve that small group of 5 bills.
Motion.
Second, roll call, please.
Councilman Belcarra?
Yes.
Councilwoman McKay? Yes. Councilwoman Schneider?
Yes.
Council President Chesler?
Yes, and I'll have more for Community Day for August, so nobody submit any other bills.
Mayor McKay?
Yes. All right, we did bills. Now we have to, the only thing else we said we would do is public comment. And then we'll do the reports next time. Is that what we agreed to? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So, motion to open the floor to public comment.
Motion.
Second,
Second. Public.
Maureen seconded it.
Also, why did we not get, I'm sorry, I have a question. Why, I just have to, I didn't get this bill list until now. Why didn't we get one earlier?
I sent council an email in beginning of July, maybe late June, to notify you that I was taking vacation.
Okay.
And that was the only week that worked out around council meetings, payroll, and other obligations that I have in the municipal building. So I took vacation last week, and I made all the bills up that came in for that week, left them for Phyllis to prepare. She was unfortunately out on Monday.
Mhm.
She did them Tuesday. You guys have them today.
Okay. Because I was out too, I wasn't sure if it came.
You're waiting
All
for
in
it, all in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Favor.
Aye.
We are now open for public comment. Does the public have any comment?
Is there any public left?
Everyone left, this is so late.
We got 5 minutes, remember that?
You can start the clock very quickly. Katrina, you're recommending that the ordinance be rewritten for the signs, correct?
Public comment.
Okay,
Council-
so I understand that you're recommending that the ordinance be rewritten. I'm wondering why, and I'm wondering if the zoning board / planning board attorney, is it the same person for both?
Yes.
It's like, what, did this person weigh in? And I know in my letter, I mentioned to everyone that he said he would be happy to render opinion, since that's his area of expertise. Was he consulted on this?
I will address this because we said this earlier. The planning board will hear this, they will have this ordinance change in front of them. We have to send it to them, to give them 35 days.
I understand.
I spoke to Mr. Spisaro this morning. I told him generally what some of the changes were gonna be, and what he said to me is, it is not the zoning boards, and you're speaking for the zoning board at that point, it is not their job to rule on the constitutionality of the ordinance. It's merely their job to enforce the ordinance. So he would have not rendered an opinion for you as to the constitutionality or the legality or the validity of the ordinance, only as to a specific instance, whether it met what is currently on the book.
Okay, so you decided that you recommended that the ordinance be rewritten, and then you took it upon yourself to rewrite the ordinance. Why specifically do you believe the ordinance needed to be rewritten?
I discussed that with council in executive session.
Okay, so your position is, you said that by law, I think you said, all signs, the can be a maximum of 6 square feet, and it couldn't be less because then it wouldn't be legal? Okay, what did you say?
With them in executive session, I'm not gonna.
Okay, so, all right, given that, so that would mean that for all these years that we've had this ordinance on the books, it's been improper and illegal. We've gone through all these years.
That's why I had this discussion in executive session.
Okay, so we've been improper and illegal all these years. We need to redo this, and signs need to now be bigger. Okay, so, and in the rewrite of the ordinance, do we differentiate between signs on commercial businesses,
The ordinance will be available and will be published.
public property, and private property, and then differentiate between temporary signs and permanent signs, because it should? And also then, I just urge council to maybe seek another legal opinion as to that the signs, all signs must be, they can be we can't make it less than 6 square feet, because then there's some issue. I find that very difficult to believe. So I would like if you could look towards another opinion that would say signs can actually be smaller than that, because I don't like what's going on here. Now we're going to have big signs all over the township. Residents already are unhappy with it. It's going to become this whole war, who can get closest to 6 square feet. It's not right. It's totally wrong. And it's
Political sign. It's for all signs, and there's so many signs that are.
It doesn't matter.
They're in violation right now.
So then, file a complaint with the zoning ordinance, have him go out and say, my question, that's a separate issue. I'm not talking about signs that are out of ordinance
But
right
they're all
now.
together. The whole purpose of this is we can't segregate them. They're all
Okay,
together.
the whole purpose of this is to determine the rule by which everyone needs to abide. And what I'm hearing now is the rule's gonna be, we can have signs that are 6 square feet all over town, and I don't think that is in the best interest of the community. So that's my end of that. Lorraine, I just want to say to you, for people who sit up here and talk about, I can't say this and I don't want to be sued personally, I think this council is setting themselves up for a very good lawsuit by you, and I hope you do sue them. And I want to thank you personally as a resident of this town for leading our new budget process, which resulted in the lowest tax increase we've seen in I don't know how many years, but at least every year that these people have been sitting on council. And I think what's going on here is ridiculous. We had a 70-hour work week performing the work that you're doing in 32 hours, and the fact that these people are questioning you, gee, I wonder why some of this stuff isn't getting done, is ridiculous. Considering the 3 of these people voted for you, brought you and hired you, these 2 said no, and now they're the ones defending you, and things have done a 360. Something's very wrong here.
Are you in her office? Do you know what she does? Do you?
I just said it.
You're on council.
I would like you to tell me.
Enough.
She's asking me a question.
Do you know what she does?
Yes, I do.
You do. How do you know?
I know because I sit here in the meetings.
You sit in her office.
I sit here.
You're gonna ask him
I'm not, he's asking,
Calm down.
he
asked the
asking-
question.
Okay.
How do you know what she does?
Get back to
I sit here.
Sit in her office. Forget about sitting in the meetings.
Yes.
Do you sit with her throughout the day and throughout the whole week and know what, do you know exactly what she does?
I have sat here.
Answer the question.
Yes, I've seen the results, exactly.
No,
I've seen the results of what we had before.
the question is, you sit in her office.
No, I don't, but I will.
You know.
Can I make an appointment to come sit in with the CFO?
Sure you can, you're a resident.
Okay, I've seen the results before she was here, and I've seen them since she came here. And I think you guys should be on your hands and knees thanking her.
That was
Yes,
not appropriate,
sure.
Maureen. Maureen, do not speak to me that way. I did not speak to you. that way.
Guys, listen,
minutes.
I'll adjourn the
Go
meeting
ahead.
right now.
Exactly. It's not appropriate. Anyway, I have some good news. My program, the Lopatcong Creek Initiative, will be teaming up with the guys from Trout Unlimited once again this year to do the Lopatcong Creek cleanup. I'm going to get all the details ironed out sometime next week, so I'll make an official announcement and let everybody know. But I do want the community to be aware that it's something that we're going to be looking to bring in many volunteers on, and we can all participate in the betterment of our own community. I would like to reflect a lot of what Marla said. Lorraine, I think that you've done an incredible job. I think that we have seen the fruits of that labor. I think that the work that you've done in the budget and the information that you have brought forth and highlighted for all of us has done wonders for our town. It has definitely, brought attention to a lot of important issues that we've been able to address, which again resulted in the lowest increase in our municipal taxes that we've had in a long time. I appreciate that effort. I do think it shows very clearly, and it is quite suspicious to me that now you've become a target as a result of that effort. But I do appreciate it if no one else does. And also about the sign issue, I think that the question really is related to temporary political signs. I mean, that's why this whole issue came to the forefront, right? It was about the political signs. I remember going through the ordinance years ago, the last time there was a political sign issue, and I thought that there was pretty distinct rules in place for standard signs on businesses, which are much bigger than even the 6 square feet that you're referring to, and there's like a setback reference. And I think that what we're talking about here are temporary signs. So let's establish an ordinance. I don't understand the whole point of changing the existing ordinance. I just see a point in adding clarification that relates to these temporary political signs. If there are some temporary signs, like for instance, a house sale that may be up longer than, a political campaign, then maybe that's a separate category. Maybe we just want to specifically control the integrity of our township as we go through the campaign process. And we just want to specify how large those signs can be. Let's just keep it fair.
Eric Johnson, 361 Stonehenge Drive. I have a comment on the Belvedere Road intersection with the high school. So I understand Lopatcong Township gave Phillipsburg this piece of property for free. The only reason why we're improving, we didn't get any money, we gave them the property.
The people who own the property sold it.
Okay,
and
so it
made
wasn't
money.
Lopatcong, so what
It's
about?
not our property.
It wasn't Lopatcong property?
No, it was owned by a private person.
Okay, so the only reason why, it doesn't change the point. The only reason why we have to improve this intersection and this road is because the high school is going in there. There's no other reason why we have to improve this. So this cost should not only be bared by Phillipsburg and Lopatcong, this cost should be bared by every sending district of Phillipsburg High School. As Lopatcong Township taxpayer, this is not fair to put this much on Lopatcong Township. This is for everybody. This intersection wouldn't have to be improved if the high school wasn't going here. So every sending district should pay their fair share.
I made that suggestion last meeting. You weren't here.
I watched the whole video.
Yeah.
I watched the whole video. I saw, and I heard.
Districts should chip in paying for this.
Absolutely, they should. And I just want to say, as a taxpayer, I want to see you guys make that happen. Lopatcong shouldn't bear the full force of this
Fortunately, the
one.
Board of Education is in control of that, and to a certain extent.
And they
I
are
don't know
helping
what we
to
can
pay
do.
for it too, and the county.
Right, everybody needs to help, but there's no,
We're trying.
there isn't one reason why one sending district gets a free ride on this
They
one.
are trying, the people who are involved are trying very hard. They're turning over every stone to find as much money as they possibly can, and out of almost $1 million job, our bill is 100,000.
Okay, so it sounds like it's at least going in the right direction and they're
Mhm.
trying. So if our bill's 100,000, then Greenwood should be 100,000, Alpha should be 100,000. Don't like,
There's nothing to force them to pay. They have absolutely no reason to pay. We can try to shake them down for money. I doubt we're going to get it, but they are looking over every avenue they can to get the other money so that we don't pay anymore.
okay. Good. I think they should pay and do whatever you can to make sure it's spready. That's all. Thanks.
Brian Weeks, Lopatcong, 208 South 7. Not looking for a comment on it. I'm just letting you know that there's people out there that work here that do not carry their own medical through this township. All right, you need to make sure that that policy is in place for them also. All right, it's $1,000 that can protect somebody's life. All right, you know what the thing's about. All right, through searching it. So I encourage you to look at it in a full package, not just, you know, a quick response.
Yep.
All right.
Anyone else?
I think there was one other issue had to do with the new school. Whether or not we should allow paths within the park to be used for access to get up to the new school building. It seems to make a lot of sense to me when I look at the map. We can't have these kids walking along Belvedere Road with cars going by at 60 miles an hour. I think we could control a crossing on Belvedere Road to one crossing. And the kids could walk into the park and then use mostly the existing trails. Maybe add a little bit to get through the fence up to where the high school building is and thereby protect them from being hurt. It doesn't seem to be, you know, any alternative to this. I can't imagine we're going to let these kids walk on Belvedere Road. So either the parents have to drive them or we have to make a way that they can walk and take bicycles.
We'd have to keep the gate open. And just to let you know, it's a really good idea, but just to know that the current high school is also on that route. They have to walk there now. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a good idea.
No, it's not a good idea,
My
but
understanding was that all the kids going to high school will be bused in. Is that true?
they will be bused from the bottom,
Yeah,
so they don't have to walk up the hill.
that's real efficient.
If they park at the bottom, they will be bused up to the top of the school. Yeah. hmm
Go down to Wildwood and buy some used trams.
I just said, put a ski lift in.
Well, two kids, listen, in the past few years, two kids were hit on Belvedere Road.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, one right in front of where that light's going to be by the brass rail and one right down the street from there. So it is a concern.
And we have a partial solution would be to go for that door.
As long as we can keep the gate open, they can get through. I don't know whose gate it is.
At the recreational.
Yeah.
Too,
Mhm.
the idea is great.
Yeah.
It's great.
As long as we can get that open.
There'd be no reason for the school to say no.
I can't imagine. I mean, that's just gotta happen. I don't want to never get like that. All right. Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is adjourned. Thank you for coming.